Welcome to the Social Chameleon Show, where our goal is to help you learn, grow, and transform into the person you want to become. For past episodes and links to everything we talk about here today, you can visit the socialchameleon.show. Today's episode, we're doing a book review, Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life.
Nice.
Again, my selection, Pushing Down on Ransom.
That's actually a good one, though. That's a good one.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. This has been one of my favorites. I want to say of this year so far. This is definitely on top of my list.
Yeah.
We're going to do kind of like a highlights of the book, the things like our favorite parts, some of the practical things we like. Buckle up. This is going to be intense. This is going to be deep, and this is going to be a bit of a long episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for people that want to, read this book, it's the vocabulary in here is a little professor.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he's kind of like on the PhD level. I think he's a professional psychologist, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
he's a professor.
Don't let the book get, in my opinion, just don't let the book get over your head.
Yeah.
If for some reason you're reading it and it seems to like you get that airplane effect, you can read the book in simplicity. Maybe a good technique would just be read the 12 rules themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the title of each chapter that gives you what the rule is. And then at the end of each chapter, was it the last 2-3 paragraphs, something like that? I don't know.
It depends on the chapter. But if you go to like the end of the chapter, if you do the physical book, and then you just kind of skim back until like he's got like a bolden line that starts like the ending. But every chapter's got a little synopsis ending in there. Yeah. It's usually like the last.
Yeah, towards the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love the book because it's deep and dark and heavy and all that kind of stuff.
And the stories. Oh my God, the stories. He's such a good storyteller. Man.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is like you don't even have to read the book entire. Just go down, and if you see a story that you like under one of the rules, just go read that story. He's got amazing stories in there.
Man. They're good. I mean, personal stories, clinical stories. I mean, fairy tales he breaks down, different religious things he breaks down, Disney shows, movies. Oh my God. Such good stories. Like, I know I was telling you, like, I was listening to the audiobook in the car, and my kids are in the back, and my daughter, she just starts crying. I'm like, what's wrong? She was like, the story is just so beautifully written. He's like a poet, and oh my God, it just touched me. I was like, wow. I was like, that's crazy. Like, but it's a good story. They're really good story, and it really it brings that storytelling element into the rule, and it helps you learn the rule. It's so good. I can't emphasize it enough.
It's good. And then, again, with this episode too, it's going to be a rather thick and heavy episode. Well, we're going to break it down. And then just make cut out each rule and make them a standalone video. So if you want, you can even watch this video in parts too. Whatever's going to make it easier for you. That's what we're here for.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And don't be afraid to get into Google and, ask Google or type it in. You don't understand what words mean. Don't be ashamed of not knowing words and stuff. A lot of people. I
definitely was listening to this in my car, and I had Alexa with me. So anytime he would say what a word is, I'd be like, Alexa, what does this word mean? And she would just tell me right there. And then we continue on with the book. It's actually a pretty useful tool. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Same thing with me. I would ask Google in the car. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. So,
cool.
Yeah, you ready to get into rule number 1?
Rule number 1.
Stand up straight. Hold your shoulders back.
Wow. I mean, at first, this rule seems kind of like simple. Like, like, is he just talking about posture? Like, is that what he's talking about?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I heard that a lot. Stand up and hold, shoulders back and, good posture.
Yeah. And then like he gets into a little bit about the birds. Like, he talks about like that birdhouse that he built, and like, I see your reaction there. It's like,
I will never think of birds singing the same way again.
Yeah. Dang, definitely.
I mean, yeah, the story about he built the birdhouse, and really bird songs are like their war cries to stay away, don't mess around, or come over here and get some. It's like now in the mornings, like I like to go outside and have hummingbird feeder and have some bird feeders in the front. I had to go outside and, listen to the birds and sing. And now I'm like, who's trying to kill who? Like, I don't know what's going on. Something's mad.
That story, right? The neighbor bird like flew over and like, or I mean, he had the radio, right?
Yeah, he recorded it with his tape recorder.
He recorded the bird songs and he put it down, and then the bird like just started attacking the radio, dude, like destroy it. It's crazy. And then
that same bird went to the neighbor's birdhouse and filled it with sticks and grass so no other bird could make a house in there. I'm like, damn, this bird is savage.
Yeah, so again, like this book is like full of like that are just, that's great, and then I think he, and here he also talks about lobsters. I'm like, damn, dude, I never knew so much about lobsters before I read this book.
We got to know about the lobsters. I'm all about the lobsters.
He's got that lobster. Oh, dang.
I love the lobsters, man. That's the best part of the book.
I like that hat, dude. He's popping on that. That's
if you folks on the audio version, I've got a lobster hat on now.
That's hilarious, dude. But yeah, I mean, like he starts talking about lobsters, and then you're like, oh yeah, and then like you realize, like, wait, he's not really talking about lobsters right now. He's talking about all kinds of things. It's a good story, though. I mean, like the study of lobsters and like. They're simple creatures by nature, but I think a big part of that story on the lobsters is he kind of uses that to kind of talk about like the social hierarchy of life.
Yep. It's a good analogy because he prefaces it's something we can easily understand and we can detach from, something as lobsters fighting for domain. And it's like, oh, this is not me, and you're not talking about me, and I don't feel offended or my ego's not bruised. Let's talk about lobsters. And then
that's true. I mean, he was alluding to that too with the birds, right? Like how the bird went in there and filled the neighbor's birdhouse so that no other bird would come into his territory. Like, it's just a good segue into like that's how nature is. Like that's what nature is as creatures. That's what we do.
Yeah, survival of the fittest. It's the strong. The strong survive. The strong-willed prevail. It's across the animal kingdom, even all down to the bottom of the lobsters.
All the way down to the lobsters.
But I also learned a lot about lobsters. I never knew like what they went through to survive. Like you see lobsters all the time in the store, in the tanks and everything looks hunky-dory, but just kind of lounging around having a good old time.
Yeah, but I mean, you see their claws are kept like, buckled up and stuff like that. But like, you don't realize that like naturally they want to fight for territory and be the top lobster in that tank. And there's 100 of them. That's why they buckle up their claws, so that they don't fight each other. They don't kill each other in the tank.
Yeah, and then that's my favorite part in that whole thing was after he goes through the lobster story and then the lobster in this scenario he goes through like every possibility, like sometimes they just excrete a little something and then the lobster digs out. Sometimes they flex a little. Yeah. And my favorite was
like lobsters get into a conflict, right?
Yeah, and then if it goes and goes and goes on and nothing stops them from fighting each other, the losing lobster, it says here, if a dominant lobster is badly defeated, his brain basically dissolves. And then it grows a new subordinate brain, one more appropriate to its new lowly position. Fuck. Could you imagine like you lost a fight to Mike Tyson and then you go home and your brain just melts and then reconfigures itself later?
Like you're a loser lobster for the rest of your life.
And as I said, that lobster could go on for years in this spiral down depression and just maybe even never get out of that. Just be a lowly lobster until it becomes my sandwich.
That's kind of the part where like you're right, like this author, he's great at doing that because like you kind of realize like, hey, like that happened to me at one point in my life. I got defeated by XYZ obstacle, and And for a while, I acted and behaved as, you know, if I was this lower person on the social hierarchy of things for a while. Kind of changes everything. You know?
It does. And then, like, I mean, like he says, when you get into that state, I mean, your serotonin levels go down. And I mean, I don't know, do you?
Yeah, I mean, he again with the vocabulary, like
Yeah.
he gets down into the, you know, the physiological and anatomical components of what causes character changes. And then, you know, it's great because lobsters are simple mechanisms. That's great, dude. I like it. But yeah, I mean, but he also talks about the opposite. You know, if you're the winning lobster,
Boom.
you win. You know what I mean? You get the best territory. You have the best house on the block. You get all the girls.
Yep.
Like, you know, it's just, and that's kind of interesting that that's kind of how life works. Not necessarily for lobsters, but just for things in general. The hierarchy you go up on the ladder, the more and things, I'm not going to say are better for you, but the more things you have access to.
Right. And that's just, and it kind of preludes back to episode 13. It's like, so you're not the winning lobster, you're going to be more confident. Your serotonin levels high. And you guess what? You're going to have more luck. You're going to have, you're going to feel better. You're going to strut your stuff a little bit more. You're going to give yourself more opportunities when opportunities come up.
Yeah. What was that saying? Like, luck is like, the more I have, the better, the better I get, the more I have.
The harder I work, the more luck I get.
It's just like, yeah.
I mean, there's so many things to talk about that. You know, people, you know, I think in this book, there's like a little verse from, I think it was the Bible or something that says something along those lines as well. Like, you know, the more I get, the more I will just continue to get.
Yeah. And I like that too in his book. Like he uses not just the Bible, but he talks about many different types of religions. Like he's talking from many different types of, you know, the godfathers of psychology, like Rogers and Freud and like all these people. Like he's talking about all these different perspectives on subjects, which makes just like a really, really good book, you know. And in this rule, stand up straight with your shoulders back, like, yeah, he's talking about position, right? But he's talking also about, you know, the natural hierarchy of life, things that people do. And it's like, you know, you kind of have to, it's not only posture, it's just how you carry yourself in general, not just physically, but mentally, and the aura, right? The energy that comes off your body, like how the world perceives you and portrays you, you know, like you're sitting there looking at this person and you can kind of guess like where they are at the hierarchy of life.
Yeah. Even, I mean, I have the thought too, when I look at people and I'm like, I could dominate you just by looking at you. I see your posture. I see your demeanor. I see how you're acting. And that's what he talks about in here. You know, all these things are, I mean, conscious, unconscious behavior. When you're defeated, what do? You put your head down and you go like this and you shrug your shoulders and you don't look at anything. You don't look at anybody.
Right.
And if you're a predator and you see that, like, oh, payday.
Payday. I don't know about payday.
But you know what I'm saying?
We'll talk about mammoths and wolves in the later rules that we have.
But you understand what I'm saying? You know, a person of a less moral high ground or something along those lines, they look at these people and say, I got you already. I know. Right.
But I mean, at the same time, like, you know, for people out there, like you got to use that to your ability, right? Like,
yes.
You know, not only just as it's talking about posture, but like how you dress. You know what I mean? Like I work in the healthcare industry, like, you know, when the doctor walks in the room, right?
Oh yeah.
He's got the coat, you know what I mean? Like he's got the name tag, right? Like he carries himself like a doctor. When he starts talking, the vocabulary that comes out of his mouth or her mouth, that when she's talking to you, like you get that image that this person is up the hierarchy chain. This is somebody that you should respect, somebody that you should listen to.
Right.
You know, like you can emulate that yourself.
Yeah. Just
natural nonverbal cues, things that are here that you don't even recognize. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And even you know, even with that, even you can take even like the dress and the look out of it. Once these people walk in a room, you can see that commanding presence and that speech and that stuff that comes out of somebody that's got that level of, you know, either education or that social status or whatever that upper tier of the social hierarchy. You can just feel that when they walk in the room, no matter what's really kind of happening. Like we used to sell cars, it's something like you guys come out, they're all slick dressed, and we're like, no, you don't got it, bud. You can just tell a lot of times when people walk up and walk in the room or whatever it is.
Right. And I think, again, and maybe we can bring this real close to a close, but that's what he's talking about. Not just talking about, I mean, sure, posture has a lot to do with it. And I think by fixing your posture, that's definitely going to affect the rest of the nonverbal cues that you have.
Yeah.
But, there's so much more to that. But it's definitely a great rule, man. Definitely a great rule.
I wanted to kind of touch on a couple of things that I really liked when he pointed out here when you're on the lower level with the low serotonin levels. You're talking about decreased confidence, more response to stress, more pain and anxiety, more illness, shorter lifespan. And then the converse with the higher serotonin levels, less illness, misery, death, and even factors of absolute income and all these types of things like that. It's just unbelievable how such a seemingly small thing. I mean, and then that's what kind of I wanted to kind of let people know there's this drill I heard of is really cool. If you are somebody that does have a problem with that, you kind of holding yourself up, whatever, it's called a doorway drill. What you do is you either get like a Post-it or a little note card or something like that, or every time you walk through a doorway, maybe start with your house, your bedroom, or something like that. And every time you walk through the doorway, as soon as you come to that doorway, you see that little Post-it or something that kind of cues you, and you do that. You stand up straight, you put your shoulders back, and you put on a nice smile, and you go through that doorway. And what happens over time is subconsciously, every time you come to a doorway, your brain is just going to recognize doorway, I do this. And then that in and of itself is going to start to bring you a little bit more of that serotonin and start to bring you that little bit more confidence if you're a person that doesn't typically carry yourself that way.
That's a good drill, man.
Yeah. So when I heard that, I got it from Jordan Harbinger in The Art of Charm. I don't know where he got it from, but I definitely, I love that. What a great little simple thing to do around our houses. And then eventually, like I said, you'll start to.
Yeah. I mean, you can take that to the office. You can take that anytime. I mean, unless you work on a farm, but
every time you walk into the barn.
Well, yeah, but most people, they walk through countless doorways. I can't even tell you how many doorways I went through today.
There's probably 15 doorways in my house, yeah. I mean, think about that. And think about that in a practical application. So what are some instances you walk through a doorway? Boom, you're going to a job interview. You're walking into the boardroom or the conference room. And all of a sudden you're just presenting yourself in there. This big smile, your shoulders back, and you have suddenly this wonderful demeanor about you. People want to look, he's coming in here. Yeah, he is.
Yeah. I mean, even when you go on a date, right? You're going to walk to that restaurant, right? You walk through
that door. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you walk up to your date's door or whatever, and what cues you? That doorway you come out there, boom. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, that's good, man.
I think it's great. And then some things to help. Like, I really like to talk about daily routines. That's the thing he was talking about with his patients. The very first thing he talks about with his patients is like, what's your daily routine like? Are you going to bed and waking up at the same time? Maybe not going to bed at the same time, but are you waking up every day the same time?
I think he put a lot more emphasis on that. Like, some people can always control the time that you go to sleep.
Yes.
Your body kind of naturally gets into a rhythm of things. But far more importantly than getting enough sleep is waking up at the same time.
Yes.
Around the same time every day.
Yes.
And then he talked about eating breakfasts that have high concentrations of protein. This is kind of what you need throughout the day.
Yep.
But yeah, man, daily routines, like that's kind of like the doorway thing. You know what I mean? The things that you practice, the things that you give off, the things that you are constantly thinking mentally and physically showing with your body, and energy coming off of your body on a constant basis. Like, the more you can increase that and towards the positive, like, the better off that's going to resonate within your core.
Exactly. And then you create these, like he calls as well, positive feedback loops. The more of these things you do, they start to stack. You start to create these things. Your brain starts to recognize these patterns, and they just start to become unconscious, competent habits that you have.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely.
All right. Cool.
Rule 2.
Sounds good.
Rule 2, treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping.
I'm like, ooh, I almost want to do that slow motion this side. Ooh, dang. Like that hits, man. That hits hard, dude. And
it does.
I think Jordan Peterson brings up, I mean, again, he goes through religion, but he uses, again, basis from all religion. This particular rule talks about Adam and Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he kind of brings light on that story, and kind of like why people don't treat themselves like they should be treated. I think he does a good job.
Yeah, he does. I never, I don't personally buy into the religion of that, but I mean, I've heard this story countless times. I grew up in a Catholic household, and my brothers and sisters went to Catholic school. We had to go. Yeah. I had to go to Sunday school until I got kicked out. So I heard this story many times, but the way he talked about it, I've never heard that perspective.
I mean, we all know the story, right? Like, we all know the story. Like, Adam and Eve. Well, maybe we all don't know the story. I don't know. For those of you that don't know, Adam and Eve, basically, they lived in Eden, right? Which is this perfect paradise, this perfect place. And there are two individuals there, and they thrive and prosper in this area. And I guess the only rule that they had was to not eat of the forbidden fruit.
Right.
And that was the rule. And so through the story, right, the serpent comes along, right? It's in essence supposed to be Satan or whatever the case might be. And the serpent talks to Eve and convinces Eve to pick the fruit and so on and so forth and eat it, right? Yep. And then from there, Eve brings it over to Adam, right? And then from there, she convinces Adam to eat it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that's the story. But I think most people don't realize like what happens after that point, right? Like, most people, that's where the story ends, right?
Right.
Okay? And like, after they eat the fruit, right, they have this knowledge, right? I guess the way Peterson makes it is they are now self-aware.
Yep.
In
the slang term, they're woke now.
Yeah. Right. But what I mean? Like, they now are aware of things that they weren't aware of before. And this kind of like, now they want to wear clothes. They notice that they're naked.
Right.
And they want to go on and put clothes and stuff like that. And it's like, before that time, it was nothing. They were just out there, paradise, living.
There was no self-consciousness. It was just like, oh, I'm naked, cool, whatever.
Right. And then, so from there, God comes out and he calls to Adam, right? I think he calls to Adam.
Yeah.
And then like, Adam, are you there? And then like, Adam's like hiding. You know what I mean? And God's like, well, why are you hiding now?
What's up, bud?
Yeah, he's like, did you eat something you weren't supposed to eat? Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like the story was set up. Like,
yeah, right.
It was gonna happen. That was kind of crazy.
It's like when your kid does something wrong, you're like calling them, they're like, what's with that look on your face? You start looking around like, what's wrong?
But and I think that's kind of like a good story as to why people don't want to take their pills, why they don't want to go and exercise. It's like, they all of a sudden look inward, become conscious of themselves, and then for some reason feel that they're not worthy of being treated well. And like, as like the way he writes it in his story, I mean, I'm not even doing it justice. I don't think by saying that. Like, I'm doing the best that I can. I didn't write the book, but like he uses that story in such a profound way that it's like, wow, I never realized that that's the reason that I don't take my pills. I never realized that that's the reason why I don't exercise every day or why I don't eat right, is because truly that's it. I feel that I'm not worthy of something that's better. I was like, ugh, that's like, it takes it home, man. That's just.
And that's the thing. It's like, to be self-aware, it's like, that's hard. You got to look inward. And it's gonna suck. It's like, shit, I shouldn't have messed with that snake. I shouldn't have ate that.
Yeah, but then like even that, right? Like he talks about like when God calls him out on it, Adam's like, no, it was the snake. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, and it was her.
Yep.
It was her. She brought the fruit to me. You know what I mean? And then it's like, and now it's your fault, God. Like, you put it here for me to eat. Like,
you made the tree. You put us here. You made the snake. It's all your fault, bud.
You know what I mean? And like, I was like, dang, like that's just kind of like a creative way to like, that's people out there blaming other things for what's happening in their life. Like, it's like, dude, it's just like,
Yes.
Like, how
But that's the lesson. Like, we need to stop blaming things that are A, outside of our control, and then B, stop blaming everybody and everything for your problems, your situation, your choices.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we talked a lot about that on, again, episode 13. But
Yeah.
for me, that kind of comes back to what this is. So, like, obviously treat yourself like somebody responsible for helping, but like, you know, that comes into a part. You got to do the right things. But for me, one of the key points of this is the mindset behind it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to look inward. You have to know what it is you're worth. You know, you have to, you know, figure out what it is I deserve in this life. You know, what am I doing that's going to help me get that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I've had this conversation with some clients and potential clients before. Understand, everybody that's listening and watching out there, you are worthy.
Yeah.
No matter what has happened up to this point in your life, you are worthy of everything you want, and then everything that's out there for you to get.
And for some of you that got to look inward and take that hard lesson, you know, I'm not trying to strike nerves or lose popularity, but sometimes you got to think, maybe the actions and things that you're doing in your life is the reason why you're getting what you kind of deserve.
And that's the thing. When you stop blaming others and you start looking inward, you can start to see, like, I am the constant denominator in all these situations. You know, you move to a new town, a new job, a new thing. It's like, and you find those same problems again. Who's the person that's always in that situation? You're the common person here, bud. No matter what town you go to, no matter what job you go to.
Right. But I mean, to me, I think this rule is more just about yourself.
Yes.
Find pride in yourself, right? And find things that, you know, will help you on that journey. Like, you have pride in yourself, you're going to start taking care of yourself. You treat yourself like you deserve better, you know, and you will deserve better.
You'll get better.
You know, I get it, but, you know, just stay on track with that. You are worthy. Get that in your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good, man. I'm good with that, dude.
That's a good rule, man. That's a tough rule.
That is, dude. And, you know, and again, treating yourself, like, you can even go back to the first rule.
Boom.
Like,
stand up straight.
You can treat yourself like somebody responsible for helping. You know what I mean? Like, where are you on that social hierarchy?
Yeah. What kind of lobster are you?
Where do you fit in? You know, what things in your past have you done that are making you feel the way you do about yourself? You know, get in there.
Stand up straight, get the serotonin level up. Be a better lobster. Don't eat that forbidden fruit. Look within yourself. Start moving forward.
All right, man. Rule 3, make friends with people who want the best for you.
Man, I could have said it better myself.
I like the way you clap, man. That's kind of cool. But I just, you know, this rule, like, resonates. Like, there's a lot of things that I see with people out there, and, like, I mean, this rule doesn't even have to be with friends.
No.
Know? This can be about habits that you have in your life. You know,
family, strangers.
Well, you can't always change your family.
No,
however,
you can change the amount of time you're spending with them, though.
Right. This is true. You can create healthy boundaries to the, you know, those people who don't want the best for you.
Yep.
You know, but again, getting just kind of like how the rule 2 was, like, this all comes back if you want to look inward at things. You know, is there are a lot of people out there who just don't want to be helped.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And, like, that's the beauty of this book, is, like, all these rules, like, when you start reading them, they just kind of blend together.
Yeah, they start to build on each other.
One resonates with the other, and, like, you know, by the time you get to, like, rule 11, like, it's like I don't know, it's just kind of,
man, you go down this rabbit hole, and these ideas start coming, and things start flowing. I mean, I've been looking around, I've been like, over the past, like, probably the past week, I've been looking at stuff, and I've been thinking to myself, like, get your house in order first, bud, before you criticize others. Hold up a second here. Let me take a step back.
Yeah, well
maybe you should take a step back. Like, but these are the things,
you know what I mean? Like,
I'm going in my head as they start to compound.
Right, of course. But even as you just look at the rules, like make friends with people, like, you know, but there's a lot of people out there that don't want to be helped, right? You got that saying that song by J. Cole, right? Like, she don't want to be saved, don't save her. Don't save her. You don't want to be saved. Like, but that's like true. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just in a relationship sense, but even in a friendship sense.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of times when I've had conversations with my friend. I mean, he's right there in the orange shirt. Don't tell him. But, like, I'm trying to tell him things. I'm trying to get him to come out and do something. But there's times when, you know, I just got to step back because at this point, he's just not ready to hear that, or he doesn't want to do things, you know, and it's the same thing with me.
Yeah.
You know?
Same thing, everybody.
You know, it's just like that whole thing of like when you're trying to get a message that somebody's not ready to hear.
Yep.
You know?
Exactly.
You know, I think, yeah. So, you know, but I think at the same time, you know, like how you're talking about how much time you spend with people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the people that don't want to be saved, like don't try to sit there and spend like 100% of your energy on something that they're not ready to receive.
Yeah.
You kind of got to wait. And like you said, either stop spending time with them or spend less time with them. You know what I mean? Your energy should be focused on maybe spending time with another person who's gonna want the best for you. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. And it goes back to that thing that I'm sure a lot of us have heard, and if you haven't, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Right? Yeah, birds of a feather flock together, right?
Right. So you got to be careful with that. And then, you know, kind of the other adage that goes along with it, the teacher will appear when the student is ready.
Yeah.
So when that your friend or your family or whomever is ready, then they'll be receptive to what you have to say and help and do and whatever that situation is about.
You know what I mean? And this whole time that you're limiting your time with them, like, you know, be respectful of that. Don't try to, you got to be tactful about how you accomplish that.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, when they are ready to hear what, you know, to be like, hey, you know, Tyson, I've been thinking about what you said last month, and you know what? I'm finally ready. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can we have that talk now?
Right.
Like,
can we go over that again? Yeah, exactly. It does happen all the time. And if anything, you know, sometimes you gotta, when you say something to somebody, it's gonna take a hit at their ego, it's gonna take a hit at their pride, and they're gonna need that moment. Like, you know, right now I'm saying fuck you, but give me a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna be able to marinate on this, and things are gonna settle down, and my ego's gonna be able to calm down, and things are gonna settle, and I'm gonna be able to realize what you're trying to say, and maybe even you're trying to help me or whatever it be.
Right. And then this rule can also be reciprocated on yourself. Like, not only do you want to make friends with people who want the best for you, but you got to want the best for your friends too.
Yeah. You got to be that person you want to attract, and, you know, you want to, you know, have other people be around you.
You know, you gotta make this work both ways.
Yep.
You know, if you want to grow as a person, I mean, think about it. If you want to grow as a person and you are who you hang around with, right? The 5 people that you hang around with, those 5 friends that you have, if you want them around later on in your life after you've grown, guess what? They gotta grow too.
Yep.
This isn't just about you. You know, you're gonna rise up, but you gotta have them grow too. And part of that is wanting the best for them.
Yep.
Giving them time to kind of find out what's going on. You know, and if those people are toxic in your life and they, you know, you got all that, like, sometimes you need to cut that, you know?
Yeah. And that's the line I like in this book. Loyalty must be negotiated fairly and honestly. Friendship is a reciprocal agreement. You are not morally obligated to support someone who's making the world a worse place.
Damn.
Yeah. What? I never thought about friendship in that way.
Right. I mean, growing up, right, you're like, oh, this is my boy, this is my friend, I'm going to support him.
Right.
And it's, but you know what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times when people are confronted with that situation, you know, their tendency is going to be towards loyalty. Like, this is my friend. I'm going to support them. That's my friend.
Yeah.
Well, yet they don't look inward, right? Again, going back to the first two rules, they're not looking at where they are in their social hierarchy of life, right? They're not trying to treat themselves as someone, right? They are giving into this thing of loyalty, and that other person may have little or no disregard for who you are, and you're backing them up.
Yep. You need to eat that fruit, bud, and wake up.
You know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to take that, but I mean, definitely loyalty is something that's like negotiated. You know, you have to be in a reciprocal agreement. If you're loyal to somebody who's not loyal to you, that can cause problems.
Yes, especially if you're like in the earlier thing we're talking about, if you're giving and all this stuff, and then you know you're trying to help them and all these things, and they're just taking advantage of you, or they don't care. I mean, man, that's a tough thing to be a part of. That's draining, and you know, that could really weigh you down.
Yeah, I mean, now that you're saying that, it kind of brings me up with like, you know, this funny analogy, and you're probably gonna know what I'm talking about, right? But like, you know, when you go out to the club, let's not even say the club. Let's just say like in general, right? And you're like,
sure.
Hey, there's that hot chick, dude. Like, oh, there's that hot chick, and you see her, and then like all of a sudden you're like this. You know, because everybody in the room is looking for that hot chick's manager. You know what I'm talking about?
where her friend at?
Where her friend at? Right? I mean, it's a bad joke. I'm sorry if that's, you know, I don't mean to be cheesy about it or whatever. But I mean, in that situation, like, you know that couple exists. You have the hot chick, and then you have the average chick that's hanging out with her. Right. Sometimes she's a little heavy set. You know, she's not as pretty. But I can almost guarantee you that average friend has got a better personality than the hot chick. Almost guaranteed.
Almost like 99% of the time, that's always true.
Right. But I mean, in that type of scenario, right, you're hoping that that hot chick in the relationship, when those two go out, is not the person that's always, you know, hooking up and then leaving. And it's like, oh, let's go out, whatever. And then you go out, and then like, you know what I mean? You're the average person, and then like your friend gets somebody, and then they leave the situation.
Yeah, and you're like,
right? You got to think about that situation. Like, is this friend really have my best interests in mind? You know, hopefully that hot chick is bringing in all the dudes, right? And then she's, you know, bypassing, you know, looking at one like, hey, here's my friend. You know what I mean? Like, always like, here's my friend.
Yeah.
And
like, oh, which one do you like?
You know what I mean? Yeah, like just trying to promote it.
Yeah.
You know? And in that way, that's like a reciprocal kind of thing. Because I mean, the opposite is true, right? Like the average chick, like she's usually got the personality, so she's talking to guys too, right?
Right.
And like, you know, she's probably hopefully looking for the best one in her opinion, right? And then be like, oh, here's my friend. You know what I'm saying? I
do, because every single time I've ever gone out with you, my entire life,
oh no,
the hot chick will come up to me. You're like, hey, what's going on? Who's your friend?
Who's your friend?
That's Ransom. You want me to introduce you to him?
Right, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
Like, I mean, we've been out many times. I'm the type of dude that, like, look, my homies, I need to take care of my homie. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's usually the
it ain't no fun.
Scott, let's not jump on that train. But, you know, in general, right, the rule of thumb is that you want relationships that's, again, a reciprocal agreement.
Yes.
Right? There's something that you're in there to be loyal and all that kind of stuff. Like, not.
And you got to recognize it when your friend's using you for something.
Well, I mean, there's times when that's granted, but like, hopefully, again,
I'm just talking about that negative situation, like kind of how the one scenario of one type of person, you know what I mean? The one girl or one guy that's just like, listen, I only bring you out because you're going to help me, you know, navigate this. Other than that, I don't give a shit about you.
Yeah. And then, you know, Jordan Peterson has a lot of good examples in this rule too, about relationships like that. It's just like, you're in this friendship only because being around this person who's of lower hierarchy makes you feel better.
Yes.
You know, those kinds of examples and those kinds of friendships may not always be the healthiest for you. You know, Definitely agree. He's got a lot of good stories in there.
Yeah, he's got and everything. I mean, there's such good. And get in there and read. I mean, get in there. I mean, at least just for the stories. I mean, you'll just get such a broader understanding of life in general, the social hierarchies and all these different things, these social nuances. Oh man, you'll never watch Frozen the same again. Like, I mean.
Yeah, he does. He got a lot of Disney movies in there.
That's a lot of, he does all the Disney. I mean, I guess there must be something to that. I totally right over my head until I read this book. Yeah, I can't watch Snow White the same.
Right, but I mean, again, he's talking about Adam and Eve. Like, he's got a lot of biblical references. He's got a lot of like Taoism references. Yeah, got a lot of references from different, great stuff. Yep. Right. So we moving on to the next one.
Rule 4.
Rule 4.
Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
Yeah. You've been kind of like, I've been watching your social media. You've been preaching this for a while, though.
I have, because I see you. If you pay attention and you've eaten the fruit and you're awake, you can start to see this. It's even got their own names now. The FOMO.
FOMO. Yeah, I remember.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah, fear of missing out.
They've done studies where people are on separate vacations in desirable vacation destinations, and they're sitting there on their smartphone. What are my friends doing? Oh, they're at a barbecue at Tom's. I know I'm in Cabo, but what's going on at that barbecue? What do you can't live your life compared to somebody's highlights. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You can't be out experiencing life wondering what everybody else is up to.
Yeah, I think that just kind of comes on to like stuff like be in the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you gotta be in the moment. Like, this is the one moment. Like, you are one person. You can only experience what's around you.
Yes.
Like, you gotta be in the moment and take what's in it for that moment and enjoy it for yourself.
Yeah.
You can't divide yourself into two separate things. Like, I mean, you can be in Cabo on your cell phone.
Yeah.
Yet, you know what I mean? Like, you should be in Cabo. You're there.
Yeah. Then why are you in Cabo? You could have done that from the community pool.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Instead of, I don't care what's happening at Tom's Barbecue. I'll hear about it when I get back from Cabo, and then we'll talk about this and that. Because I can tell you about what you did in Cabo. I don't really remember, but I remember what you guys did. I saw it on Instagram.
I know, but again, like, just we're talking about things like what you focus on.
Yes.
I think that a big part of this rule is like what you focus on.
Yes.
And he brings up a good thing about the gorilla video. I guess this is the first I've heard of it. You've seen that.
You've never seen this video.
Maybe I have, but I don't know. But anyway,
so if you saw this video, you would absolutely
probably recognize it. Okay.
But anyway, how it goes is these guys are there's two teams on the basketball court, and I think they're like one in like a white jersey and a black jersey, something like that. And then they're told, the person doing the experiment is told count how many times like they pass the basketball around or whatever. So what you're focused on just them passing the basketball around. You're like, and then I want to say like with 100% accuracy, everybody was like, 15 times.
Yeah.
And then they're like,
that number. Pretty close.
Yeah. And they're like, what about the gorilla? What gorilla?
What
gorilla? No gorilla. They're like, what do you mean? There was a gorilla in the middle of the basketball court dancing around. They're like, fuck you, there was no gorilla. And then they play the video back and they're like, don't count the basketballs, just watch the video. And they're like, holy shit, there's a fucking gorilla. How did I not see the gorilla?
Right, and that's because your focus, right? It's where your focus is.
Exactly.
On what's happening.
Exactly.
It's like you're paying attention to how many times you had a task, you're paying attention to how many times the ball is passed, but you're missing everything else that's out there.
Right. And that's what you got to understand about your brain and your vision.
Right, and how it works.
Yeah, our eyes can only process such a small amount of things. And once your brain says not relevant, it stops because it can only take in so much. And your eyes and your brain is so developed to know, like, I'm just going to pick these little things out because I know that's what's relevant in this situation.
But that's not even like the that's your eyes, but that comes to everything. All your senses, what you hear, you know what I mean? What you feel, what you experience around you. Like you can only experience so much.
Yeah.
And then even furthermore, you can only remember so much.
Even less, yeah.
You know, so like you gotta be in that moment and enjoy. Like you're there doing what you need to do, enjoy it. Watch what you focus on, because if you're comparing yourself to somebody that's not even anywhere near you, right? Let's just say you're the bottom lobster on the rung, right? And you're looking at what the top lobster has. Like that's not realistic. Like that's not realistic at all.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like you got to look at the rest of the lobsters at the bottom, because that's where you are.
Yeah.
Painful as that realization may be, once you see that, then you can kind of focus like, all right, I just need to be better than this guy next to me. Right.
Yeah.
And then even then, like, don't even go there. I just need to be better than me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of people can relate to like, I just got to know where I am and be better to this lobster next to me. But you got to even pull that closer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can be better than that guy next to you. Guess what? You can be better than who you were yesterday, for sure.
Exactly.
And that's kind of, you know, that's kind of where this rule like hits home, man. It's
exactly
kind of crazy.
And that's the thing. If you're just 1% better every month, that's 12% increase over a year.
Dude, that's better than most investments.
That is. Could you imagine if you were 12% better at life this time next year? Where would you couldn't even imagine where you would be, because you can't imagine the opportunities and things that are going to come to your life when you're just 12% better. Now imagine if you just did that 1% a week. It's 52% better. Can you imagine being 52% better than you were today? That's mind-boggling.
Right. But then, you know what I mean? Like, but I think the catch is where people fall short. You know, they don't focus on the fact that they only have to improve by 1%.
Yeah.
They're looking at the person that's way up there. So automatically they think that they have to improve by 100, 110%, which is not even possible.
Right.
You know, and sure, you're going to set your goal to be 110% better tomorrow. That's not realistic.
And that's when these things fall short, these New Year's resolutions and all these things. It's like we set these lofty goals, and then we have this delusion of what we can accomplish in a year, you know, or even a shorter time frame, you know. And that's the thing, you know, we've got to be careful with these things, and we've got to, you know, I don't want to say be realistic, but you've got to have this lofty dream. Absolutely. But understand there's going to be a lot of steps that you know of and you don't know of that you're going to have to work through to get there. And it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of effort.
Yeah. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, and for those people that are trying to improve themselves by 110%, like, you know, that's a cheap trick.
It is.
It's a high, and it gets you there. Like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be good, but it's not really anything that's out there, you know, just something. And he's got a quote in here, right? Like, I almost don't want to say it, but talking yourself into irrelevance is not a profound critique of being. It's a cheap trick of the rational mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's deep. That's deep, man.
It is. And it's like, but it's like, and it's like, and that's a theme I see through this book. It's like, go back a step, man. Go eat that fruit. Treat yourself and others good. Don't compare, and then don't compare yourself to these other people. Just look within and work on you and work on what you got going on.
And I guess before we close a rule, I just kind of want to, like, there's nothing wrong about dreaming big, for sure.
Fuck no, dream big, baby. Yeah.
You want to dream big? That's great. Keep doing that. Dream big, do all of that. But when you wake up to do your day-to-day activity, right? Like, you go to sleep at night, you're going to dream. That's fine. But when you wake up and you put your work shoes on, don't go out there like trying to be that dream. Like, you just you'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
You'll get there eventually.
Just keep walking towards that dream. Keep overcoming obstacles. Keep taking every step, that 1%, that every whatever it is, whatever you can get to starting today. If it's 1% a month, boom, work on that. And then get to 1% a week and get to 1% a day. And eventually you're going to knock these little steps out and you're going to hit that dream. You're going to get there. You're going to get that goal.
This show is all about awareness, right? Being mindful of what you're focusing on, right? Be mindful of all of that. Sometimes you're focusing on the wrong thing.
And if you have good people around you, they'll let you know about that.
Yeah. All right, man. We moving on to rule 5 here?
Rule 5. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them.
Oh.
This rule is going to be a little touchy.
I almost want to try not. I guess.
If we were going to skip any rule, this would be one that we would skip.
Yeah. I'm going to say that he does an amazing job at saying and addressing some of the issues that most people just won't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things, and I think from where I'm at, when I grew up, to the children that grow up in today's society, there are things that are 1,000, not 100, 1,000% different.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I'm more of the person that is adapt to change.
Mm-hmm.
I can learn and appreciate. And now that I have a bit more knowledge, I understand how things are going. Yet I'm still from the old world. Like I grew up when I grew up. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that I grew up with that unfortunately don't hold water today.
Yeah.
With how the children are being raised and how they're growing up. And a part of me feels sad about that, because that's how I grew up, and that's a part of who I am and why I'm such a strong person.
Yep.
You know, but at the same time, I understand a little bit as to why it's happening. And, you know, I'm an optimist, so I have a little bit of faith that humanity will take its turn naturally.
Yeah.
You know, but then again, I grew up in the way I grew up. And maybe that's my biased opinion as to why things shouldn't be the way they are nowadays. But to each their own. To each their own.
And I have a similar agreement to that. I mean, yes, we come from the old school before it kind of turned a little softer.
Yeah. I'm
from the opinion I think things need to firm back up a little bit. And I like what you have to say where, you know what, the world will correct. Things will correct itself. It'll self-correct.
They all come in cycles.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that once we tip to one side, and maybe that's a good point to like bring about this book. Like this book, I mean, if you look at the title, it's actually an antidote to chaos, right? 12 rules of life, and then an antidote to chaos. And then again, this book is just another reminder that all things, right? You have the good, you have the bad, right? Good and evil, order and chaos. And yes, we do tend to go one way or the other, but eventually things correct themselves naturally.
Those market corrections.
Yeah, just like the market, right? After expansion comes recession. After recession comes expansion. That's part of life.
It's
like in the circle.
Circle of life.
Yeah. Them Disney movies.
And maybe it's a question in me or whatever, but it's like we can stop the shit right now, though. Just cut it out.
Yeah, that brings a good point about that kid who couldn't go to sleep, I guess.
Oh man, that's a good story.
I'll let you tell it. You.
All right.
Man over there.
So I guess the story goes, Jordan and Peterson, I guess their little neighborhood, their friend community, they would bring each other's kids over to each other's house to babysit, and then the parents would go out on a date. So the one friend comes over, drops off his son. He's like, let me tell you right now, he ain't going to go to sleep. You're going to put him down. He's going to jump up. We just throw on an Elmo movie and, just let that ride out and he'll fall asleep. Jordan Peterson's like, oh, sounds great. In his head, he's like, I don't play that.
He's old school, right?
I don't. There ain't no Muppet. You ain't getting rewarded for not going to sleep with some weird old Muppet guy. I was like, oh, here we go with this one. Oh, I like the way this sounds. But then he goes and he's like he says, he goes, he puts the kids to bed, he puts the kid in the crib. He's like, that was the first step. He's in the crib. He can't leave the bed. So there we go. So one thing differently, I guess it seems like, than the child's parents are doing. And he said, he walks away and sure enough, man, here he goes, starts yelling and crying and whatever. And Jordan Peterson's like, you ain't waking up the other kids. Then we have a real big problem. Goes in there, and he's like, tells the kid, lay down, go to sleep. And the kid's like, no. So, I put him down, lay down. Kid's like, pops back up. Jordan Peterson's like, this kid's got some spirit. I like this. All right. But I'm bigger, and I'm stronger. And I'm going to win this battle.
I got way more patience.
We are all weak, man. Can't handle this. You're going to be tired eventually. So then he said, he goes through this little thing. Like he pats his back. And I was like, I remember doing that to Titus when he couldn't sleep. I would pat his back and kind of rub his back. And then eventually, kids kind of starts to doze off. And I kind of pat his back. I started walking away. Boom, he pops right back up. He's like, man, this kid's got some spirit. And he goes, lay down. And the kid, boom, he lays down and he goes to sleep. And then the dad comes on. How was he? Like, it was great. Went right to sleep. That dad was like, and he's like, and Jordan Peterson's like, I knew he wanted to ask how I did it.
Yeah,
but he didn't. And I didn't tell him because he wasn't ready to hear it. I was like,
you gotta read this book, you'll find out. Right?
Like, oh yeah, right, exactly. Pick up my book and you'll see how your son went to sleep. And I was like, man. And then I want to say he went on to say that him and that child had a better relationship later on.
Right.
Maybe I'm mixing stories together, but
possibly. But that happens naturally, right? Again, getting back to, this book goes through so many rules. It's just like, make friends with people who want the best for you, rule 3. Like that's all part of it. Like once the child sees that you have their best interest in it, now this becomes a reciprocal thing. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Jordan Peterson really cared. He cared about what his friend, the little boy, life was about. Like, back to rule 1. If you're not getting sleep, you can't fight off anxiety and depression and all these things.
Yeah, exactly.
And then maybe your parents are going to be rushing. You don't have a good breakfast now. Then what? When the snakes come, you can't fight off the snakes in the grass.
All right, it's not get too far.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, they all just so bleed together. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and that's just kind of it too. It's like, getting ahead of myself, but like, if that step never happened, right? Like, if you don't control that, maybe control is the wrong word. If you don't correct those types of behaviors in the child when they grow up, like, there might be consequences in the future for that.
And that's the thing I like when he says in this book. He's like, if you don't discipline your kids, the world will. And they don't love and care for your kids.
Exactly.
Is that what you want? Like, I was like, wow. Like, I was listening to that, like, this part with my wife in the car, and she was like, oh, no, I get that. I don't want to go this. And it's like, that's just what I'm saying. Like, yeah, maybe, you don't like
maybe that's where all this hate from millennials comes. You know what I'm saying? Just like something wasn't right, some type of activity wasn't corrected for them in their younger stages. Yeah. And now this is society telling you, hey, look, this ain't right. You're getting punished. You're getting ostracized for your behaviors. Why? Because that's what society deems that's worthy of a person of your age and stature.
Yeah, now you can't function in society. You cannot interact in society. You cannot walk into society and be a good person or somebody that people want to be around.
Right. And it's just like, because in society there are natural orders of things, right? Mm-hmm. And millennials show signs of things that aren't natural in society.
Yeah. You can't jump. The lobster realms.
Yeah. So, and that's just, again, I believe in, as a human race, you know, all things come in cycles. We're going to get through this.
We'll have a market correction.
And there's futures, you know, but.
And I think we're starting to see some of that market correction now. We're like, listen, like, we've got to think about this and talk about this, you know, millennial thing and trying to work through this kind of thing.
You know, and I mean, it gets back to the whole thing. I know you're ranting and raving on like the parents out there say like, oh, I want to let him be creative. I don't want to smash his creative ideas.
And that's the thing I've said before. Like, I hate that excuse. Like, oh, well, why is there no discipline or rules? I'm letting him be creative. Like, and then Jordan Peterson says that in his book that actually limits creativity. And I'm like, yes, we all want discipline and rules and structures. And it's like, and that's what he tells a little story about the one kid, because his parents were so unwilling to discipline the child. By letting him be free and have freedom, by not having rules, the child could not explore because the parents had to constantly wander behind the child and intervene with them. So therefore, he could not explore the world because the parents wouldn't set rules, wouldn't say no. So it's like, what are you really cultivating?
I got what you're saying, but I'm just going to try and build upon that. Is the fact that, you know, yes, the parents had to be there to, you know, because your child can get out of hand and they're correcting them at every turn. Yet if you get the principles, right, if you can raise the child to follow the rules of society, then they can truly go out on their own, right, without any parental, right, and be guided instead of having a parent behind them all the time, or maybe not a parent, something else behind them all the time, correcting every action they make. And, you know, and I think that's another thing too that he brings to light is like, look, society is out there. You know, if you know, teach your child to work well with society, that child will do better in life.
Yes.
You know? And I don't know. I mean, I get it. There's sometimes I don't want to discipline my son, but there's times when I think, well, if I don't do this, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You know, what are the consequences for him in the future if he continues this attitude and he continues the things that he's doing and society sees that? What is society going to do?
Right. Or even that, what's the escalating behavior? It's like, oh, you know, I kind of got away with cheating on this test. Like, oh, what else? Oh, I pickpocketed a little. Oh, okay. I didn't get in trouble. Like, oh, I shoplifted a little. I didn't get in trouble. Like,
there's part of that that's healthy. I mean, that part of that is testing rules. You need to, you know, but at the same time, part of testing rules is learning consequences.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And when there is no consequences, or you start to think, oh, I'm slick, I ain't gonna get caught, then that's when things come down on you.
Right.
And the older you get, you know, it goes from, you know, Timmy's suspended from school to Timmy's in the detention center to Timmy's doing 5 to 10. You know, you know.
Retrospect. Yeah. I mean, that's a little bit of a slippery slope, but
it is.
I see where you're going with it. You know, but the same thing can do. I mean, I'm not only talking about consequences, and he's not even talking about consequences. No. He's talking about rewarding too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When children do things that are proper, when they do things that make you proud, when you know, reward them for that.
Yeah. And that's the thing I really like. And that's the thing I really liked in here when he was like, oh, you know, you're a good boy. And he's like, and I damn well meant it. And I'm like,
that's true.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, I hate when you see people and like, oh, yeah, good job. You didn't even acknowledge that for real. Like, you know? And then what happens the next time? It's like, hey, I did this thing, but you don't really care anyway. So, you know, maybe I just will stop doing things because you don't care anyway. You know? That's the thing I like. Like, you gotta just, what does it take? 30 fucking seconds to just have a real, genuine, like, goddamn, that was great. I'm so proud of you.
No. Don't forget about those bottom lobsters. They don't know how to do that.
Hey, start in the doorways. Start standing up straight. If you look up.
But you know, and the beauty of this book is everything kind of alludes back.
Yeah.
You know, like if you don't know how to hold your head up straight and your shoulders back, you know, when your son does it, you're not going to reward him for that.
Yes.
You know,
Shit, you get together, start doing the doorway drill.
It's kind of tricky, man. But, you know, definitely I do like the part about rewarding, for sure.
Yes.
And definitely anytime you engage in that type of activity, rewarding, like pat on the back, saying things, like, again, there's an energy that emits from your body. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You have nonverbal cues.
Yeah.
You know, look in the eye, make sure the energy coming is actually from a place of gratitude,
Yeah.
like from a place of wellness and good intention. Be like, son, that was awesome. You did a really good job. I'm very, very proud of you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's great. Or, son, I love you. It's just like, as simple as that.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's, you know, with me, I work from home, and so when the kids come home from school, I will stop what I'm doing, you know, and then once in a great while, I'm like, can you give me like 3 minutes, and then I'll spend as much time as you need to talk to you. You know?
Yeah, of course.
And I'll sit there, and it's a lot of times it's just chatter, it's just whatever. But I understand that this interaction is important. You know what I mean? To you I don't give a flying fuck. I don't understand half the shit that's even being talked about. But I can take that genuine moment for a few minutes. It's way more valuable than me sitting next to you for 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? And not having any interaction. Like, that's the thing so people understand too. Like, oh, I spend lots of time with my kids. You two sat next to each other on the couch doesn't count. You know what I mean? I had a 15-minute conversation that will be way more memorable and way more impactful than the latter, you know?
Right. I don't necessarily agree with spending time. Like, there's mannerisms and stuff that you do just sitting next to your child that they can pick up on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you're following the rules correctly, you believe in yourself, you have energies coming off you, that's great. But I'm a firm believer in both. If you can do both, you got to sit down there and spend that quality time. You got to get that direct image out there. You got to make an impression on your child, right? Yes. And at the same time, you do have to spend some amount of time with them, next to them, so that they can mirror your mannerisms and become that. You know? But also, even more importantly, is sometimes you have to execute consequences.
That's the only way there is such a thing.
You know,
do not execute consequences. There's no such thing as consequences.
Well, if you don't execute consequences, basically what you're saying is there's no rules.
Yes. Yeah. Your rules don't matter because there's no penalty for breaking them.
You know, and for me, you know, when I used to, I mean, I don't have to anymore, but when my son was young, I did execute the consequence. And sometimes I did it in public and people would look at me like, oh, like, you know, and I'm like, well, I know better. I know what happens. I know better than to teach my child that there are no rules in life.
Yeah.
Because when you teach them that there are no rules in life, then things become a different place.
Or like your example, you can also teach them that these rules only apply at home. Because when I go in public, I don't ever get in trouble.
Whatever the case might be, it's just, I definitely believe that if you don't execute consequences, you're teaching children that there are no rules. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, granted, there's a lot of things out there, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to get into arguments about what is discipline and what is abuse, right? That's a completely different argument. You know, however, there has to be some type of punishment.
Yeah. And if you're if you're interested in what he has to say about different types of punishment stuff, he does a very, very eloquent job of kind of going through that. I would definitely recommend if it's something you need help with or you're interested in, I would definitely recommend that.
But definitely, all of these things are part of, you know, what we want as parents.
Yes.
Basically, the main bottom of the life is like your child eventually one day will go out there into society. You know, eventually they are going to be part of something that is greater.
Yeah.
You know, get them in tune, right? Get them in tune with what's happening with the world. Get them in tune and prepared for when that day comes. That does include making rules, giving consequences when rules are not followed, and giving rewards when rules are followed. And he does a wonderful job of expressing that, dude.
Yeah.
So, good stuff.
Very good. You want more on that? Definitely get into that chapter. Even if you just stop by the library or the bookstore and you just kind of hit through that chapter real quick. I mean, he does a really, really good job.
Huh?
Rule 6. Ooh. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
Ugh, a lot of people see my face, but I'm making this face not for the reason that you think I'm making this face. But this is a good rule. I definitely recommend that if you're gonna get through this rule and start reading it, that you finish it before you stop. Don't start reading this rule halfway through before bed and then try to go to sleep.
No.
That doesn't me at all. It took a dark turn for me. At this point when I'm reading the book, it kind of took a dark turn and like set me back a few weeks, just mentally. I mean, I didn't go off the far end or anything, but you could definitely feel my energy levels were down when I hit this part of the book because I didn't complete this part. I think I read it before I went to sleep or something of that nature, and then I didn't finish the chapter for like a couple of days, and it just kind of like dragged me in. But anyway, enough of that, Beth. Just a disclaimer.
This chapter and the next chapter get real kind of heavy and deep, and that's a good preface to this because you can find yourself in a weird headspace if you're not ready and prepared for it.
Well, I mean, just if you get through the chapter, you'll be fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Just don't start reading it and then stop. Like, for no reason.
The conclusion kind of closes things up for you, closes that loop up a little.
It's one of those things that for me, I just took it out of context.
Yeah.
Right. Because I didn't get all of the context behind the rule. So
you don't want to leave. Yeah, don't want to leave that open loop.
You know, because I mean, just briefly, I don't want to get too far into it, but briefly in the chapter, he does talk about unfortunate events that have happened recently in history. You know, about mass murders that end in suicide and those kinds of things. So just, you know, take that part with a grain of salt, get through it, and he does sum it up and do a really good job again.
Yeah, he does very well.
But I like the part where he's talking about that play Faust or whatever.
Yeah,
the German
play. Yeah,
like he makes a pact with the devil, and like I thought this was funny because like I know somebody that has his last name. And I'm like,
Are they related?
Are they related? Is this who the play is about? But anyway,
this is your great grandfather.
I don't know, man. Maybe
you gotta ask. Come on.
But anyway, so Faust, right? German play. The main character makes a pact with the devil, right? And he says, "You can have my soul. In return, I want everything in this life on the earth that I can have while I'm alive." Like. That's some interesting stuff, dude. Like, imagine the power to, like, have anything while you're alive. Anything at all. Like,
anything and everything.
That's crazy, dude. You know what I mean? I'm thirsty right now. What do I want? Oh, yeah, I want some of this. I want some of that. You know what I mean?
$1 million.
Let me get my private jet down here. You know what I mean? In fact, I want to fly in my helicopter to get to the airport. Like,
right.
That's crazy.
Let me get my helicopter to get on my plane. To fly my space shuttle to go to the moon.
You know, but at that point, like, and maybe this kind of leads into what the next rule is, rule 7. But like in doing so, like you're giving up your soul. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like to get these possessions that you need. And that's not always necessarily, you know, I don't know if that's a good trade or not. I think we can argue that all day.
Yeah, we can play. We have a whole episode on that.
Can argue that, but at the same time, you know, it's just an interesting thought. Like, you know,
it is, and it's like it's funny because it's just stuff. It's just things, you know. Like I wonder, you know, I bet after a while, like I say within a few years, you just be bored out of your freaking mind.
Oh, you mean of getting everything you want?
Yeah.
I mean,
You just gotta be just unfulfilling as can be.
Right. I mean, because eventually there's only so many things in the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how long this could last, but I mean, yeah. If you could have anything, yeah, you have it. Now what?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, Lamborghini. Okay, I got my Lamborghini. After that, okay, now I want a Ferrari. Okay,
yeah.
I got that. After a while, it's like, okay.
Yeah. What?
I've driven every car that I could possibly drive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean,
I have the biggest house there is.
I've been to every place that I could go to. You know, I don't know.
And you don't even earn any of it. That, to me, it's that's all, a lot of the fun of it is the journey. You know, it's not about the destination. You know, it's about the journey.
But you know, again, that kind of brings back the whole thing in this book, right? Order and chaos, right? Finding meaning. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people get caught up in that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you just want the thing for the meaning. Like, you know, you don't care what you're doing. You don't care the fact that you're giving up your soul to get this stuff, right?
Yeah, we're not thinking about that long-term concept.
I don't think about the fact that I'm giving up my soul. I just want.
Yeah, especially like, oh, I'm dead anyway. What does it matter?
Yeah, you know. But that kind of strives to it, though. It's like, you know, one of the quotes he has in here in this chapter is like, we all contain wisdom that we cannot comprehend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, even though you're under, you know, you have all these things, like, you know that giving up your soul is wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny that we have all these things, all these religions out there, and all these things, etiquettes and proper things, but as a child, we kind of know that. You know what I mean? You know, like, from the time that you're a little child, you can, you know, I'm not talking about like when you're conceived, but when you can actually focus, right, and concentrate and have some kind of correlation. You know what I mean? When a child sees something that they don't like, right, they cry, right? They're scared. They, you know what I mean? Like, they know right, they know wrong instinctively, right? They smile, they love when they see people helping each other. Like, you ever watch a child when something good is happening? Like, it's crazy.
Oh, they light up. And even those like little spontaneous moments where kids just come over and they bring you a little something, or they pick a flower or whatever.
I can't remember the experiment, but I think they put like a 2-year-old down or something, and then they showed them a video of kids like helping each other, like babies helping each other, and like the kids are smiling, and then they showed them the video of like where one child like stole this other kid's toy and like took it for themselves, and like they're just like watching the reactions on the kid's face. Like, the video that they're helping each other, babies all smiles, and then like when they see the one kid steal from the other, they're like, you know, you see the expression on their face. It's kind of strange. At such a young age, like, we know instinctively. I mean, I believe people are very complex, but deep down in the core, things are simple.
Yeah. It can be broken down, at least the simplest forms. Yes.
I mean, but, you know, I don't know whether you want to call it, right, your conscience, right? Like, that's all. Like
that gut feeling, man. We all know.
Right.
It's when we get older and we're capable of more complex thought, and you know, if we're led down, you know, one path or another, or if we start to, you know, feel some type of way about something, and it's like you start to say, well, are this risk worth it? Or can I get away with this? And can I get away with that? And, you know, it kind of ties back to the other rules.
But that's kind of like where it comes down to, right? Like, setting your house in order before you start criticizing other people. Like, yeah, we're as adults, like, we go to college, right? We went to school, we go to a job, like, we learn a profession. Like, we know all these things about life and all of these things. But when it comes down to the core being, you know what good and bad is. You know what good and evil is.
Yes.
We all have an inherent ability somehow to know things. Yes, we're complex beings, but we're also simple beings at the same time, you know?
Yeah, I know Jocko Willing talks about that, the Navy SEAL commander. He says something along the lines of, you know, like, I guess people ask him a lot, like, oh, well, how do you know when, like, you shouldn't be doing this? Like, if you have that thought, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah. I mean, well, when you talk about Navy SEALs,
that's a simple answer.
But when you talk about Navy SEALs, though, they get into situations where all your training goes out the door.
Right. Oh,
They put in high stress situations where instinct is the only thing you got.
Yes.
And at that point, you definitely know right or wrong.
You do. You absolutely know what you're doing.
Yeah. But I mean, that just comes down to the whole pact of like, you know, how people watch things happen. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys seen on the news, like I was watching one news on the other day, like at the time the volcanoes are erupting, they're still erupting at this point, right? They have all these fissures coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
And there was one resident that was living there that was chasing people out with a gun. Like he fired a gun over somebody's head to like,
Wow.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he had the right intention, right? Of
you're trying to protect them from getting in the lava?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, like that was his intent, but he's going about it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it's funny because you see the live video, like somebody's just watching that happen. Like you're it's like, look here's a video. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, man.
That's the shit I hate too. Like, we gotta be good human beings, man, to each other. Like, we gotta be good neighbors. I hate that shit. People are standing there like,
well,
look at her getting raped. This is horrible. What are you doing about it?
Well, in that situation, when a guy's holding a gun, I mean, I don't know. Not everybody has the ability to like run up and stop that guy. You're putting your life in danger, you know. But you're right. You definitely. I think there was a movie, right? Like Clint Eastwood was the director of that movie. Was it 1517 to Paris?
Right. Yeah. It was a true story, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a true story.
Yeah.
Like those aren't actors; those are the actual guys in the movie.
Oh wow!
Yeah, those are the guys in the movie.
I haven't seen it. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
But like in that situation, you're right. Like those three individuals, I think 4 individuals, like they took matters into their own hands, mm-hmm. right? They knew what was right.
Yeah.
In the face of adversity, the guy came out of the bathroom and he had like a freaking backpack full of magazines and a loaded AK-47, and they literally just went up to him and stopped him from committing error. Like that was crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's like the end of the movie, but like the movie is about like these kids growing up and what they went through and mm-hmm. you know, part of their trip and stuff. But yeah, like people that sit there and watch things happen, like you can actually do something about it. I'm not saying you have to go in front of a loaded gun, maybe, but if somebody's, you know, being robbed or somebody's like, say something, go out, yell, make a noise, like call the police, like
something, you know render aid. I mean, what happened to these things that, I mean, I can't drive by and see something. I can't walk by and see something and not at least do the minimum thing of calling for help, stopping to render aid. Like it just doesn't even bog my mind. Like this story, was it a couple of months or something ago, these guys went to the Starbucks and then they kicked them out because they wouldn't buy anything. Oh, everybody in there was outraged.
I did see that. Yeah.
Everybody is outraged. Not one of you motherfuckers said, you guys thirsty? Let me get you something. You guys can stay. I'll buy you something.
Oh,
$3,
that's true.
$5. Solve the problem right off the bat. Nope. Look at these guys. They're getting kicked out of Starbucks for not buying anything. Put your fucking phone down. Buy them something. Problem solved. Society better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
I mean, that kind of goes back to like, you know, the nature that like, you know, the police come knock on your door because your radio's on a little too loud. You know what I'm talking about? It's like,
yeah.
It's like, wait, what? Like, who called? Like, oh, your neighbor. Like, I was like, what happened? You know, and maybe again, this comes back to the world that I grew up in.
Yeah.
You know, before this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like back in the day when your neighbor was making too much noise, you kind of just went over there and be like, hey, Bob. Like, I know you guys sound like you're having a great time, but I got to get some sleep tonight. You guys mind if you maybe just close the windows and turn the radio down a little bit? And Bob's like, hey, man, oh, I'm sorry, man, but we're having a party. You want some food before you go back home?
Right,
you know what
right.
I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Saying like that's the kind of neighborhoods like people had.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it was a different time, but
it was.
But
right. It goes back to rule 1 sometimes, though. If you walk around like this, you ain't gonna go up to your neighbor and say, hey, Bob, can you turn that radio down a little bit? I really got to get some sleep. My kids are sleeping. Like,
again, all these rules kind of bleed into each other. Same thing about rule 3, right? Make friends with people who want the best for you. Make neighbors with people who want the best for you.
Yeah, like, talk to your neighbors.
You know? And that's just people who sit there and watch from a distance and criticize, right? Like, oh, I'm going to call the cops on this guy. Like, is that necessary? Like, how hard is it? That's your neighbor.
Yeah.
Number one, if he's your neighbor, why don't you have his phone number?
Yeah.
Kind of strange. Number
And that's
two,
the thing too. Like,
that's a neighbor. Like, why don't you know who that is? Why can't you ask them?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's the thing. I mean, like where I live, I know a few of my neighbors because I go outside and I stand outside. I look at the birds. I get in the sun, you know. But if I was never, and the only reason I know my neighbors is because I see them driving into their garage.
Yeah.
So everybody just comes home, drives in their garage, and walks in their house, and they stay in there. We never see each other anymore.
Yeah. And
it's unfortunate and it's tough, but you know, and even I heard this story about I was in New York City or something like that or whatever, and in this apartment building, the lady was getting like raped and murdered, and all the neighbors were all like, "Oh yeah, I heard it," but I figured everybody hears it. Somebody's had to do something about it by now. Somebody had to have called 911, and every single neighbor all thought the same thing.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, you know, again, don't read this chapter in completely, like read it in its entirety.
Yeah.
This is kind of the point where he starts talking about order and chaos and like how, you know, the balance of things go, you know, and a big part of that whole thing, right? Even going back to rule number 5, right? About don't let your children do things that, you know, make you dislike them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, get your house in order. You know what I'm saying? Like, learn to be good within yourself.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, get all of that taken care of, squared away before you get out there and start passing judgment on other people. It's kind of crazy.
And that's the thing. I like this one quote from this book. What is the thing he said about the hurricane in New Orleans?
That's right. Yeah.
And stuff. It's like when the hurricane hit New Orleans and the town sunk under waves, was that a natural disaster? The Dutch prepared their dikes for the worst storm in 10,000 years. Had New Orleans followed that example, no tragedy would have occurred. It's not that no one knew. The Flood Control Act of 1965 mandated that, and 40 years later, only 60% of the work had been done. It's like it took you 40 years to do 60% of the work. That's not even, yeah, I mean, that's just, I can't even fathom, like, how is that even possible?
Yeah, right? And if that had been done correctly, the tragedy could have been avoided.
No problem. And they knew about this in 1965.
Yeah.
And, like, dang. But that's the thing, like, we got to go back to, like, that old kind of tribal, you know, small village mentality. Like, you see this other human fucking being. That's your opportunity to help. That's your opportunity to be a good neighbor. A good person.
But I mean, again, getting back to the rule, like, this comes from within, right? Yeah. How you carry yourself, what you hold within, what is inside your core is what's going to emanate outside of you, you know? And I think that this chapter closes for you. He asks some pretty tough questions.
Yeah.
You know, about yourself and about what it is you're doing. And like, when you read those questions, you're like, oh, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the questions? I'll read them out here. It's like, have you taken full advantage of the opportunities offered to you? Heavy question, dude.
That is.
Do you have habits that are destroying your health and well-being? You know what I'm saying?
One.
You know, are you truly shouldering your responsibilities? Like, you know what I'm saying? These are like tough questions.
Back to rule 2.
Have you said what you needed to say to your friends and family members? You know, are there things that you could do that you know you could do that would make things better for you? It's like,
better. Make things around you better.
Yeah. What? You know? Start to stop doing what you know is wrong. Like,
that's it right there.
It's like, dude, you know,
if you just did the last two, you imagine what this world would be like? Your neighborhood would be like, your community would be like.
Right. And it's, again, you don't have to increase this by 110%. If you just increase by 1% a day,
Just one.
you know, it's from within you. But like those questions, dude, like, and I told you about the time when I was going out asking millennials questions.
Yeah.
Similar to these. A lot of them don't know.
No.
A lot of them haven't even thought about it.
I bet you most adults wouldn't have answers for this that were adequate.
You know, it's, I mean, there's a lot that do, right? There are a lot that do. But, you know, it's like, these are the tough questions of life. If you can figure this out, right? Change what's in here, resonate outward.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, great, amazing chapter. Takes a little bit of darkness, takes you there for half a second, bring it back out, coming from within.
Yes.
Amazing.
Rule 7. Rule 7. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient.
See how these rules start blending? See how they start blending?
Coming together now.
You know what I'm saying?
If you're coming in only on this rule, come back and look at some of the other rules. It's going to come together for you.
Yeah. But it's, again, right? Like, same thing. Getting your house in order, right? Like, doing things for the long term. You know what I'm saying? Like, get things in order. Do them for the long term. Find meaning, right? Don't take that quick ride out. Don't take that shortcut.
Yep.
Tony Robbins, right? Shortcuts lead to a town called nowhere. You know
that's the thing. The lazy man does the most work.
That's true. That's true. I mean, that reminds me of that story, right? Like, about the wolf. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
let's look at the story. This guy, I don't know how he does it. I don't know.
He's got a lot of those stories. Like, he's like, you know, you never see a wolf thinking about, like, oh, I'm not going to gorge down. Like, he's going to eat every bit of that mammoth that he possibly can until he starts throwing up. He might possibly even eat more after he throws up.
Right. He might have to leave this behind. I'm like, listen, I had enough.
There's no second thought. You know what I'm saying? Like, the wolf is like, dude, this might be the last meal I'm going to get in a long time. There's no thought about that.
Yeah.
You know?
I should only eat half and save the rest for tomorrow. Maybe John, did you want to get on some of this? I got a little extra. No.
But as a wolf, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know, and even as humans, that's our primal instinct. That's where we come from.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing about this book is, like, he uses a lot of stories about lobsters and birds and wolves, but he's not talking about those animals.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just an analogy.
You know, but there's so many times, right, when we do want to sit there and gorge and eat as much as we can because we don't know when our next meal is going to be.
Right.
And even that's a metaphor, like, for everything else. It's crazy, you know?
But that's like, I mean, when you're in that place of scarcity and when you come from scarcity, that's just how you're going to act. But when you can let go of scarcity and know that if I'm making and I'm being a good friend, if I'm doing the right things, if I'm, you know, being the right person, I'm being a good neighbor, making my community better, these things are going to come back around and you can leave scarcity behind and never worry about it again. Because you know the more you give, the more you're going to receive and the more you're going to be able to give again and it's going to continue on. It's hard to get past that scarcity.
Because even for humans, right, at one point, we did. We killed the mammoth and we ate the whole thing, right? We were resourceful about it.
Yep.
But something turned on, right? Somewhere in there, the light turned on. They're like, hey, what if I could actually grab some of this for later, right? Or we got more mammoth over here, but that tribe over there, they don't have anything, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what if we take some of our leftovers, we give it to them? You know, what might happen?
Yeah.
You know,
we trade with them.
Yeah, you start trading. I got mammoth. They have tools.
Yeah.
Why don't we? Hey, I give you some mammoth. You give me some tools. Hey, you know what I'm saying? You know, create that relationship, right? Like that turned on for humans a long time ago.
Yeah.
Creating a relationship. Now, this mammoth here, by giving some of it away, right, can possibly, when they have mammoth, they might give it to us.
Yeah. And
this mammoth could equal future mammoth.
Yeah. And you know, I think innately that's how humans are. We will naturally do that.
Yeah. And I want to kind of say, like, there are some people out there who give with the intention of getting back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I think these behaviors, in my opinion, have been cultivated or learned over time. Right. They're not an innate thing that we would do naturally as a human.
Yeah.
I think that comes from that scarcity mindset. You're stuck in scarcity.
Again.
Only giving from that.
Right. Rather giving from the fact of abundance. It's like, I'm giving you this, go forth and do good things with it. Mm-hmm. If you have that kind of intent, ironically, you know, they're going to give back to you, right? It's like when you have the wealth, when you have the fame, like, everybody wants to take you out to dinner. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody wants to buy you lunch. Yeah. Everybody wants to give you gifts.
Yes.
When you have everything, right? Getting back to the whole lobster thing, when you're the top lobster, everybody's dropping down at your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of ironic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were the bottom lobster and you had nothing, like, nobody was giving you anything when you needed it the most.
Yeah, you'd be lucky you get acknowledged.
You know, but I think for most people, you got to keep that mindset.
Yeah.
Keep the mindset, like, you're the top lobster, you're giving away stuff. And don't sit there and think like the bottom lobster, where, like, I need them to give me something back, because, I don't know. Again, how all these rules, ironic, right? You take care of your own place, you take care of your own house. You know, you don't need to worry about that. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, it's just, I love how they just start stacking and bleeding back and down. And it's just.
Yeah. But getting back to rule 7, though, it's like about delayed gratification, right?
Yes.
Talking about making an investment for the future, right? That's what successful people do, right?
Yep.
Anyone who's successful, right? You're looking at, what's your ROI? What's your return on investment? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
You're gonna get money into the stock market. That money is gonna build up over time, and then from there you're gonna be able to retire and get that money back. Like, that's what delayed gratification is.
Yeah.
Taking some of your paycheck, right? Putting it away for the future, right? Get something. You're looking over there, man. You're looking for some, like, there's something in there.
I'm sorry. I was just looking at the notes, and I had a thought, and I just was trying to figure out where it was. I'm sorry.
But I mean, that just kind of comes over things, right? Like, eventually humans figured out that it's better to trade. It's better to barter, right? We went from being hunters, right, to being farmers, right? We went from that hunter-gatherer society, farmers, because that's what makes you get better results from that. See?
Yeah, and as life improves, we're able to have that forethought and to start to create these different systems.
Yeah, and that's all just part of it, you know.
And that's the thing. Yeah, you've got to. I know it's hard, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and I used to, you know, be there too. And all you can think about is like your next meal, your next this, and it's like. But the beauty of when you can get past that and you can start to think about the future, and like, if I just do this thing here, that's correct, and right now, I know this will pay dividends tenfold in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all successful people invest in their future, whatever that's going to be. Whether you're going to go to school to become a doctor and be successful, right? Whether you're going to go work at a company, work from the bottom, work all the way up. You know what I mean? You're investing your resources into that company so that you can work your way up. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Whether you invest in real estate, and that real estate's going to get you money back over the long haul, right? Whether you invest in stocks, right? Whether you invest in your children.
You invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself, have children, you know what I mean? And prosper, take care of them. And if they do well, they're going to come back and take care of you. That's, don't have that expectation. If you have that expectation, ironically, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Right? That's the thing. And then when you have that expectation and it doesn't come true, then you get resentful and you're angry, and then you go back and you stop doing these things. You're like, well, I was told if I did this, I would be reciprocated. I need to be reciprocated. Oh, you missed the point, bud.
Right. You know, and that's just kind of, you know, getting back to the whole Faust thing. You know, I mean, you could have everything you want. Like, it's just, most people don't understand that, like, it's the long term. It's not the short term. It's not, oh, I gave you this, I need something back.
Right.
Like, oh, this is for you. Have this and prosper. Like, get that out there, and then do the same thing. Like, keep working on yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But that's just it. Everybody nowadays, they're all about the get rich quick schemes, or, you know what I mean? Like, something of that nature, versus like working on themselves to be better. Like, you got to have meaning out of all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That the next shiny object onto the next thing. It's like, and we'll get into that in the next couple of rules, but you gotta play the long game. You gotta understand the compounded interest of life is where it's at.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, though. Is like, most people out there, like, if you had the choice, if you could get the Lamborghini that you wanted right here, right now, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, 30 years down the line, have that passive income of $8,000 coming in a month, like, what would you take? You know?
Yeah, and that's a real thing. That's a tough choice. It's easy to go out there and, you know, be an Instagram model or something, or do this kind of maybe sketchy thing or whatever, and scoop that Lambo up real quick, and then what?
You don't know?
You know, I mean, my younger self might have said, let me get that Lambo, I'll drive it around for a few weeks, and I'm going to cash that in, and I'm going to do X and Y. But
you're like that kid, like, I'll take one wish now and wish for 10 wishes instead of wait for 10 wishes later on. Like,
right.
Come on, you're cheating, bro. That's like,
bro, it's not cheating, cause it's called strategy.
Strategy. But that's just it, though. I mean, you're going to get the Lambo, you're going to sell it, right? And
right.
then take that as a $2 million investment on something that's going to get you money later on down the line.
But, you know, that's a good little caveat. Like, oh, look, I found the little loophole. But the problem with that is, do you have the other rules ready? Is your shit in order? Are you telling the truth? Are you these things? Because if your habits and your things are not in line with getting this windfall Lamborghini investment, you're going to just keep doing the same things you're doing, and you're just going to blow all that cash.
Right, because that's the mindset, right? You're thinking short. You're thinking immediate gratification.
Yes.
Not something that's long term.
Yes.
You know? And like, for me, like, it's just kind of pursue what is meaningful, not what's expedient. I kind of think of it as think long instead of think short. A good way that he kind of sums up the chapter is find meaning, just period, in general. If you can find your life's meaning, you can make your life worth something, right?
Yes.
That is a far better strategy than anything else, right? Because again, this whole book, this whole premise is about order and chaos, right?
Yeah.
The only way you're going to navigate, and you're too far into the chaos, right? You're too far in the darkness. You got to come back to the light, is to find meaning.
Yeah.
Right? You got to, in the yin and yang symbol, right? You got to be that white dot in the black field, right? And you got to shine. And by shining, right, I mean, know your meaning so that you can find, and then hopefully you're going to illuminate the other side, right? You're going to become the white field eventually.
Right. You need to get back on that path. And that's the quote I like in here. Aim up, pay attention, fix what you can fix. Don't be arrogant in your knowledge. Strive for humility, and above all, don't lie.
Yeah, I guess to the next rule. You know, well, we're close there, but that's just it. You know what I mean? Like, whether you take the Lambo or whether you take the passive income for the rest of your life, like, all of that doesn't do much without the meaning.
Yep.
Right? Finding the meaning in all of this, and I even think he talks about it as being 1 foot right, into chaos. I mean, 1 foot into order, right?
Yeah.
1 foot into something that you've already mastered.
Yeah.
1 foot into what you want to master. And right there in that fine balance of everything is kind of where you're at. Like when you can firmly plant 1 foot in each and channel your energy, like that's where your meaning is going to come from. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a good exercise. Like, go out there and do things that are uncomfortable, things that scare you, things that, like a few years ago, I had heard this concept, and I was like, yeah, that sounds cute. No, I could do that. And the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I need more practice in doing it. And then I had heard about this thing doing acro yoga, and Tim Ferriss had talked about it. So, oh, check this out. Man, it's a lot of touching, it's a lot of hugging, it's a lot of stuff that I do not like. I don't like hugging people. I don't like shaking people's hands. I don't like being in people's personal spaces. Guess what I had to do? I'll be back tomorrow. But you know what? When somebody comes in for a hug now, I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, I'd be like, fuck, you're a hugger. Man, how can I avoid this? Now I'm like, Tyson, I'm like, yeah, you know? And then I thought about it a few months ago. I was like, wow, I despise that part. Now it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, right? You were there, you did something that's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And you know, but that's just it. Like, you got to find the meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that's kind of, if we had the sum, it's like, do what is meaningful, not what's expedient. And finding that meaning is part of the process. You got to find that meaning. Real deep stuff.
Good.
Right?
Rule 8.
Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Yeah. That's a rough one.
This is my favorite one. I already practice.
Oh, you already practiced your favorite.
Many troubles I have gotten into for practicing Rule 8.
You know, and that's just one of the things. Like, there's so many things, and we just talked about this in the other episode 13 about, you know, we got into that rant about truth.
Yep. This
is one of the hard ones. You know, you want to set your house in order, like, yeah, this is kind of one of the key ones that you got to focus on.
Yep.
You know? If you're not truthful about where you are, you know what I mean? Let's just scroll back through the rules. You're not truthful about who you are and what you are. How are you going to stand up straight? How are you going to hold your shoulders back? You're not truthful about who you are and what you deserve. How are you going to treat yourself well? How do you even know how to treat yourself? You want to make friends with people that want the best for you. Well, what is the best for you? You got to be truthful about that, right? Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. How do you know who you were yesterday? You're not truthful about it. Don't let your children do things that you don't dislike. You got to be truthful about that. What don't you like about them? What don't you like about their behaviors that you want to change? Set your house in order. How are you going to set your house in order? You're not truthful about things. You're going to build a house of lies? You're going to live in that house of lies? You know? How are you going to pursue what's meaningful in a house of lies?
Dang.
It's like,
whew, man. And that, to me, I mean, if anybody out there, you ain't done none of these, start here.
You know? And again, I get it. No offense if you are that person living in a house of lies, but I get it. The goal is just start from where you are today.
Yeah.
Just do 1%. And I mean, you got a house of lies, just start on the left wall. Take this lie down one day.
Yeah.
Sit with that. Let it marinate. Okay? Then go to the next one on this wall. Take it down. Let it marinate. Your house might fall apart rather quickly, okay? You know, sometimes you got to put those lies back up. But you know what? You figured out we can't take that lie down. You take that lie down, our whole house is going to fall down. Mm-hmm. Now let's go to this one. Let's try one of these. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
It's crazy.
You got to start. taking them down.
Yeah, I mean, he talked about what is that? When he was a student, was he going through an internship or something?
Yeah, when he was when he was training to be a psychologist, and he was at the mental institution or something like that or whatever, and one of the patients had come up to him and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Can I come with you?" And it's like, what do I say?
Right. This person's mentally unstable. Like, yeah, like you don't want to say something that's gonna like set them off, right?
Yeah, like trigger them. So what is his little thought process goes here real quick here. I could tell the patient a story designed to save everyone's face, or I could answer truthfully. Ooh. We can only take 8 people in our group. Would fall into the first category, as would have. We're just leaving the hospital now. Neither of these answers would have bruised any feelings, or would have been untrue. And he goes on to say, I told the patient as simply and directly as I could that we were new students training to be psychologists, and she couldn't join us for that reason. And now, not only was that a great truthful answer, now think about this. The next time you see her, instead of her saying, "Oh, can I come with you this time?" and you have to come up with another lie.
Oh, yeah.
She just looks at you. "Oh, hey, you guys are the students. I can't go with you. How you guys doing? Have a good day. Sounds good."
It's true, man. But like you think about that in your life. I mean, I'm guilty of this too. Like, how many times you see that person, right? And you just lie to them about what the situation is, and then it's like
so easy.
You know what I mean? You gotta go back again. Now you see them the next day, and you're like, hey, you gotta come up with a new lie.
Yep.
Right? See them the next day, and it's like, hey.
Yeah.
Like, eventually, your lie is gonna fall through.
Or you've got to come clean, and it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
What you told me you had something to do, and you didn't want to hang out, and like that was 14 days in a row. Like, what, dude? I just don't want to hang out with you. Like, why don't you just say that? Like, fuck, man.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
It is. But it's so easy to not hurt people's feelings, and I don't want to offend anybody, and we've got to risk. We've got to risk offending people to have meaningful conversations, to be able to tell the truth, to progress in life, to live our truths, to have meaningful work, meaningful relationships.
That's true. And, we talked about this in our previous episodes too. Those of you that need external accountability.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to lie to this person that's holding you accountable to something. Then all of a sudden they can't even hold you accountable anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How are they going to keep an expectation of you that's built on a lie?
And a lot of times you're lying to yourself.
Yeah. You lie to yourself. How are you going to hold yourself accountable for things that you do?
Yeah. Or expect somebody else to hold you accountable. Like, oh, you've been running? Oh, that's great. That sounds good. No.
Yeah.
But your accountability partner is like, I'm doing my job. You said you were running. I'm checking on that you're running. You're not doing any running.
Yeah. I mean, there comes a point, like, sometimes it's hard to tell the truth, and sometimes it's hard to not lie, but there's also times when you just got to say nothing.
And that was the part of this rule that to me was the way I took it. At least don't lie. That's the part to me. It's like, listen, this is a time where I just need to shut up, because nothing that I say is going to be worthy of it, or it's not the right time, or they're not ready for what I need to say.
Yeah. Cause there's times when the truth will just hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Getting out there and being truthful all the time, believe me, that's something that I've practiced for a while, and it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard to live in that thing. And sometimes when you tell the truth, like there's times when I just want to so get out there and tell the truth about something, but I know saying the truth is just going to end up hurting somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think if this rule, at least they tell you, at least don't lie, that's the way to be. Like, there's times when the truth is going to make things worse.
Yeah.
When it's going to hurt people, when it's going to destroy families, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And that's the time when you just don't lie about it.
Right.
A like how he did with that psychologist. I mean, he was a student talking to that person in the psych ward. Like, you're not gonna tell them I mean, he told her the truth, but like, you have to do it in a tactful way.
Right.
And that's sometimes, I think that's it's the hard part for people, why they can't tell the truth. You know, sometimes there is no tactful way to do it.
I've gotten myself in a ton of trouble for telling the truth and telling people things they didn't want to hear. I wish I was more tactful, or the new thing I learned was shutting up.
Yeah. Put a safe boundary, put a safe distance, between you and that person, and just kind of, I found it too in sometimes when I'm talking to people that we already know the truth.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Times when we're there, we know the truth, we know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if you just don't call them out on it,
mm-hmm.
it's better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I sit there and I so want them to say the truth. I so want them to tell me how they're feeling, or I so want them to say that they're sorry, because I know they want to say it. But sometimes if you sit there and demand that of the other person, you harm them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Or you harm that relationship you have. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know what I mean? It's not about the hierarchy thing. It's not me trying to take dominance.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me wanting that person to just get out there and be honest with themselves. And, just like in the last rule, like, say what you need to say to your friends and family, like do it.
Yeah.
But sometimes making somebody come to that's not the best.
Yeah. You can't.
That doesn't end well.
No.
So if there's times when you're at a point and, you know what's going on, you're aware of it, just like you said, let it be. Wait for it. Give them the opportunity to tell the truth.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen, okay. Right? Be meaningful. Think about the long term. It'll come at a different time.
Yeah.
Now's not the right time.
And you can even, if you're that good friend, you can keep nurturing them to build up, to be able to stand up straight enough, to look within themselves,
right?
Themselves the truth, so that they can in turn tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But before that, you can already forgive them. Like, one day you're gonna say you're sorry, but I'm gonna forgive you now.
Yeah. And that's just keeping the light in the darkness, man.
Yeah.
This book does a lot of that. Light in the darkness, order in the chaos.
Yep.
I have it, And then that just comes down to the other way, when you're trying to stand your ground, you don't want to offend somebody by doing something. Yet you have to stand your ground, because as a person, they're letting you down. Yeah. He's got that story about the landlord story, man. That's just,
oh man, that's a good story.
That story just resonates like miles. I don't know. I've related to that situation many times, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that story.
Tell us about the landlord, Jordan Peterson's landlord.
So I'm not sure where this is at or whatever, but he has this landlord, and the landlord has a drinking problem. They say I got a drinking problem. I ain't got no problem drinking at all. But anyway. And so the landlord is always looking for money to buy booze. So the landlord will like walk up and knock on the door and be like, hey, what's going on, man? Like, can I sell you this? Like, this is my microwave. Can you sell you this is my microwave? Like, so you can get some money. And like, sure, like, this is your landlord. What are you gonna do? Like, the first time it happens, you're like, all right, we'll be polite. We don't want to offend this person, right? We don't want to break or cross boundaries. And it's like, okay, so you give him money, and then, after this continues to happen, like, it's this guy's just buying more booze, getting more drunk. When you realize it, right? When you tell the truth about a situation, like, you're not doing him any favors.
Yeah.
You're supporting him in his bad habit, right?
Yep.
You are not morally obligated, right, to support a person that's making this world a worse place.
Yep.
Right? And like when you come to truth, and then like finally, I think it was the toaster, right? That's how the story ended. Like he went there to sell, the landlord went there to sell him a toaster.
Yeah.
And finally he's like, look, man, no, I'm not gonna buy your toaster.
Yeah.
Told him the truth. He stood his ground, right? And it's like, here, he's like, stand your ground. And he realized any micro expression revealing sarcasm, deceit, contempt, or self-congratulation would have thrown that conversation all off.
Mm-hmm.
He straight stood there, stone-faced, looking this guy just straight up. No, I'm not going to buy your toaster. Quite frankly, stop coming here to sell your things. It's making me and my wife uncomfortable. And just paused. Like I found that negotiation tactic right there. Stand your ground, right? Express what you mean. It's a little rule in the future. Okay, be precise in what you're trying to say, and just stand there in a neutral. We call it neutral gym. You're not trying to offend them. You're not trying to take a defensive position. You're just standing your ground. And like, oh, you could hear his voice. We did the audiobook. Like you could hear him telling the story. Like,
yes,
he, you know, you could feel that was just uncomfortable for him to do. Like, you know, but it's something that needed to be done. You know, you got to realize what the truth is, what you're actually doing to this person. You're making their life worse. And you need to stop that. And he needs to stop what he's doing. Like, that was a rough conversation. That was crazy story, man.
And my favorite part of that story was the end when he's like, the next morning, like he's like, he remembered the conversation, and then from then on our relationship was even better.
Right.
It's like, that's what's up.
I like that happy ending. I mean, it's a storybook.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, that's not always the ending that happens.
No.
You know? But yeah, that to me shows light in the darkness again. Like the landlord realized what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, I guess that was his way of being, hey, thank you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Thanks, man. I didn't need that booze last night. Thank you. Yeah, but that's the landlord coming to truth, right? Coming to terms with what he was doing.
And it started with Jordan Peterson being self-aware enough to tell the truth so the other guy could live his truth.
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
That's one of my favorite rules.
Yeah. All right. Rule number 9.
Rule 9. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
Yeah.
Boy, is this a hard one, especially.
Yeah, I think I'm taken back by this one. A lot of people might say it's one of my flaws, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I get that too.
I tend to know a lot of things.
Yeah.
But, you know, not trying to feed my ego or anything, but look them up online. I'm pretty sure you'll find out what I'm talking about. However, you know, this just comes from the whole thing too about like the teacher and the student.
Yep.
Right? The student's there to learn from the teacher, but many times the teacher has something to learn from the student too, man.
I mean, if you already think you know everything, you'll never learn anything else new.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't teach a man who knows everything.
Epictetus.
Yeah.
2,000-year-old philosopher.
Well, you know, I think this kind of brings, I mean, he goes into a lot of things too in this chapter that I like too.
Yeah. This one's a touch ambiguous a little with the rule title versus a lot what he kind of talks about.
Well, I mean, a lot of it leads up to, like, I mean, I know he talked about the memory stuff, but that's all part of learning, right? Memory is a part of learning. And
that's the thing. I liked what he had said here with the memory. Memory is not a description of the objective past. Memory is a tool. Memory is the past guide to the future. And then he goes on, it's not to remember the past, it's to stop the same damn thing from happening over and over. Like, that's a good thought of your memory.
You know, and I guess he goes a little bit off to the left field with that, but that's all part about listening.
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? Like he goes into the other techniques and stuff, but I mean, he even talks about like the flashbulb. Does he talk about the flashbulb moment? Or
No, that's something I was talking about, like where he starts to talk about how our memory, you know, it's not this snapshot in time, and that we an exact record of what happened, you know, and that's how we feel that like I'm 100% certain this is exactly how it went down. That's how we feel about our memories, but they're not that. They're just a part. Like there's this thing called the flashbulb moment. So like some like big either something, your child's born, or like it's a big tragic event. Like there's this one of the, I guess the bigger studies was after September 11th is like, this is a great opportunity right now to study a vast majority of people across America. Everybody understands what happened September 11th. Everybody's got some memory. So they asked them a bunch of questions. I guess it was like 3,000 people or whatever. They had asked the same questions like, where were you? What were you doing when you heard and all this stuff? So then they, a few days after whatever, maybe it was a week or something like that, after September 11th, they had asked all these people, and they had them write it down with their own handwriting. They had told them what they were. I was in the kitchen, I was washing dishes, and then I had got a phone call from my sister, and she told me. And then it's like, so then the next year they asked them, okay, so what were you doing? And they told him, and the story kind of changed a little. That's okay. Yeah. And then they did the 10 year, at the end of the 10 years, 10-year anniversary, they'd ask them, hey, here's what you wrote, and they're like, no, I know I wrote in my own handwriting. I was in the kitchen and my sister called me, but I was folding laundry and my dad called me. And that's exactly how it was, because that's exactly how I remember it, and I'm 100% accurate. So the point he's making is we got to understand that our memories, they change and they shift a little, and there's a lot to that, and there's a lot to understand in that. I don't really want to get into it, but understand that our memories are tools that are there to mainly help us stop doing dumb shit and learning from our mistakes. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, like the whole memory thing, to me, that's part of listening.
Yeah.
Right? And I think what he's alluding to, like this rule, like assume that the person you're listening to might know something, like take it from the point of learning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that's kind of where I think he was leading into the whole memory thing.
Right.
But it's amazing how most people don't even think, though. You know what I'm saying? Like their memory of something, and it's like, what they thought happened. Like some people, they don't even think in certain situations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you can easily be, subjected into memories like, oh, is that what we did? Is that how that kind of went down? Like, oh, and then that becomes part of your memory of that event. So yeah, you gotta be careful with that. And yeah. I don't want to get too far down the memory rabbit hole, but
that's fine. But I mean, just getting into the whole topic of thinking in general, right? Like he's got that. I don't know. I don't think this one is from him, but mental activity does not constitute thinking. Like I forget where you got that from.
That's from Bob Proctor.
Bob Proctor. I mean,
you may get that from somebody else, but that's where I know it from.
That's where you know it from, yeah. But then, like Jordan Peterson's quote: "People think they think, but it's not true. It's mostly self-criticism that passes for thinking. True thinking is rare, just like true listening." Like, you know what I mean? Just going on the whole, like, train of memory thought to the whole process about thinking, like it's one and the same, right? Our memories are tools of doing things, right? And our thinking about activities, those are all tools that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Most people aren't engaging and listening and responding to a conversation. They're just responding about who they are.
Or they're just waiting to interrupt you or for you to stop so they can get their thought in.
Right.
I just did.
Or we're going along those same lines, though. Is like, if it's a true conversation, if it's a genuine conversation that you're going to have with somebody, like there has to be that element, right? There has to be the elements of receiving information, which takes memory, by the way, right? And then from there, going on and thinking, right? Digesting that information so that you can respond and have an intellectual response to that person. You know? No.
Absolutely. And that's the thing he says in here I really liked was repeating back what the person has said.
Right. Yeah. That's
for you to clarify your thinking and what you heard. And then even further, it obviously could actually can and maybe even does help them clarify their own thinking by hearing it back from you.
Yeah, that's true. You know, sometimes when people speak, like they talk in broad terms.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Sometimes it's like, oh, you know what went down. And like, no, I don't know what went down. Like,
yeah.
Why don't you tell me what you're talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, or, you know, I don't know. We can go down that rabbit hole many ways.
Yeah, it's like, how far down the rabbit hole do we go in this one?
However, just that whole thing is like repeating back what you just heard is a way to help the conversation progress forward. You know? Again, It involves memory. It involves thinking, right? And then from there, it also allows you to be clear in how you communicate as well. You know?
I really think, the heart of this rule is listening. And there's such, like that technique, like even if you don't repeat back to them necessarily what they're saying, like maybe if you're working on it, it's a little awkward. Sometimes I think that feels to me like a little awkward, but in my head.
He was talking about Rogerian technique. Like that's a form of psychology. Like a psychologist wants to help you.
Right.
You know, they got to clearly understand the problem. So that's kind of how the conversation between the patient and the therapist goes. But anyway.
But even have that in your head, like, let me get this clear what you're trying to say to me, you know, and internalizing what they're saying versus you waiting to respond or waiting to come back with something or, you know, waiting to, you know,
right,
do something else.
It breaks that initial, you know, instinct to just like fire back at people. Right. You know, I mean, there's times when amongst old friends when we get into like witty conversations when that fire back that's the conversation you're actually looking for. But
you need to be on it.
Right. But when you having a conversation with your wife about something that's going wrong in your marriage, that's not the type of conversation you want to have. You're not going to want that quick, witty, instinctual response. That's a quick way to get out the door. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's also a nice way to lighten the mood a little sometimes.
I do believe in pattern interrupts, but I do believe in getting your message across, you know? I think it's a good technique. And it's engaging, and it kind of helps you remember that the conversation is a two-way thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what it is. But then going back to the whole witty thing, and I guess this is stereotypical in male behavior, right, with hazing and stuff like that, where outsiders looking in on a conversation. I'm sure there's many conversations you and I have had, like people like looking at our conversation, like, damn, that's below the belt, you know. But I guess
are they gonna fight? I don't know if I should call the cops or not.
But I guess for me, a recent thing. I don't know if you saw the remake of Baywatch, right? With Zac Efron, right? Like,
yeah.
That was hilarious, right?
Oh man, he was giving it to that guy. Like, oh man, that was fun.
One Direction. Like, go pick up my stuff. Like, he was like, what? Like,
man.
He's just like razzing on him, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the old school. Like, give him a little, you know.
Right.
As a guy, especially when they're fucking up.
But again, like that just comes back to the whole thing about this rule, right?
Yeah.
Assume that the person you're listening to might know something you don't. Like, you take a look in the mindset of Zac Efron's character in that movie. You know, through half the movie, he's like, "Oh, this guy's punking on me. He's clowning on me. He don't respect me." But in reality, that's not the case. Dwayne Johnson's character is trying to correct something. He's trying to tell Zac Efron in his own way. I mean, be it that it may, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's amazing how your attitude of a conversation can actually change what that conversation is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because The Rock is trying to tell him, like, listen, man, like, you want to be a lifeguard, you want to be part of this team. You can't be out there fucking up when you're trying to save somebody.
Yeah, it's like, you're not a hero.
Yeah.
Like, we work together as a team to make this happen.
Yeah,
and not, for whatever reason, wherever Zac Efron's character comes from, like, he just doesn't get that.
I forget what he like used to be or something. Like, he was a
professional swimmer and all this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Whatever. But he had his problems. But like, same, like, you know what I mean? It wasn't until the end of the movie when Zac Efron like finally figured out, like, damn, he's right, and he's been trying to tell me something. I mean, he's been trying to tell me something that I needed to listen to a long time ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, that's kind of this was one of the things that makes that movie really good. It's like, yeah, it's funny, but at the end, like, it's like, okay, being truthful, right, about what's happening, right? Treating myself as somebody that needs helping. You know what I mean? Like, all these things going on. It's amazing. Again, the attitude in which you have a conversation with somebody, right? Actually listening to what they say, repeating it back. Like, if you have those conversations, like, the more conversations you have like that, I think that just resonates within you, makes you a better person.
It does. And that's, I used to be, and I'm sure I still have those moments where,
we all do.
It's like, man, I know this, or you ain't gonna teach me shit, bud. Like, in fact, you know what? Let me tell you something about this. But you know what I've learned is even though, let's just say you are an expert, or you're proficient in a subject, sometimes just listening to that person, you can get a different perspective on things, or you're just going to continue to reaffirm and reteach yourself about that subject. You're just going to get better at it. That more of that mastery, more of that practice leads to better mastery of those things. Or sometimes it's simple to you're just talking on the side of your ass, bud. I know that. I don't need to prove nothing to you. Everything's cool.
Right, but there's
good story. See you later.
Yeah. But there's always something that you can take away from that conversation. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you treat life for a continuous search of knowledge, like, and you engage in that conversation, you're going to learn something. If not, you're going to learn how to gracefully walk away from that situation. You know what I mean? Like, you can learn, there's so many things that you
learn
can
learn. Learn humility. Learn to just sit there and shut up and just like, oh, interesting.
Yeah. And give off a positive thing. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Just by making that one change in attitude about a conversation can just change your interaction with that person.
Absolutely. That's I like that. That's good. I never put that together, but I like that.
All right. Moving on.
Rule 10.
Be precise in your speech. It's like, whew.
Boy, do I need some work on this one.
Yeah.
I go all around my thoughts sometimes, just get, and it's hard to get it out.
And again, like, just these 3 rules back to back. Tell the truth, right?
Boom.
Listen to the person that you're having a conversation with.
Boom.
I mean, if you do that technique, you listen, now you're going to say back to them what they're trying to say to you. Like, you got to be precise.
Yep.
Sometimes it helps to be even more precise and identify what they're saying when you make that reply back, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sometimes you clarify their thoughts for them.
Yeah. This is true. And
sometimes you're going to have to tell the truth, and you're going to have to be precise in your truth.
And sometimes when you can't tell the truth to a person and you don't want to lie to them, you got to be very precise about what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where it's like, I'm not going to tell you the truth because that's going to hurt you. Yet I'm not going to sit here and lie about it and tell you that it's okay.
You can handle the truth.
Dude. That's crazy. But yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to handle the truth.
Right? I guess he's got one of these things too here, right? When one of the quotes, like, when things collapse around us, our perception disappears and we act. Right? Ancient reflective responses rendered automatic. Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens. Like everything's collapsing around you. And, you know, in that moment when you got to tell the truth, right, and then everything starts collapsing, your instinctive response, right, is to just either lie, right? Yep. Blatantly lie about it, or come into effect, like make up something, or but that's kind of where you got to rise above it a little bit, right? You think about the conversation and just be precise, and that'll help you through that situation for sure.
And that's the thing, like I think it comes from the Navy SEALs, where they talk about you don't rise to your expectations, you default to your training.
That's true.
So, and that's why they talk about, like, we're always hammering these situations. We're going through these different scenarios. We're doing this stuff because when it comes time for this shit, when the shit hits the fan, when everything collapses around us, they default back to that behavior that they have innately trained in them.
Of course, you know, and that's the kind of thing too about being precise in your speech. Like the more you practice it, the better you get at it.
Right. The more you're telling the truth to you, yourself, and to those around you, and then you know.
But even then, like to be truthful about something, right? Like, and if you want to be truthful about something, you got to be precise about that, right?
True.
Like you're gonna get on the scale and be like, "Oh, I'm a little overweight." Like, I think you should be more precise in your words. What does that mean? You're a little overweight,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
And that's when you got to go back to rule 2. You got to eat that fruit and be like, I'm self-aware. Listen, I'm 33.74 pounds overweight. I got to get that off. I got to get a plan.
It's like out there. It's like, you know, when you're going to be precise about something, that's bringing to effect. Like things about being precise and being in general, like the more precise about something that you can be, the more change you can affect on that one item.
Yes.
Right.
You gain that clarity.
You know, again, like that's the kind of things in this book. Like he's talking about speech in this thing, but he's not just talking about speech. No. He's talking about everything in your life. Use precision.
Yeah.
Say what you mean. You know what I mean? Like be who you say you're gonna be. Like be precise in everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, speech is a good way to start with that for sure.
And that's kind of been our little running joke the past couple of weeks. It's like, what are you saying, Tyson? Be precise in your speech. But that's like, you know what? I've got to focus my thoughts. I can't go like this in my brain, and that can't come out of my mouth the way it's going in my head.
Right.
I got to stop, and I got to say, okay, wait, listen. Let's put all these together. What am I trying to say?
Right. I mean, like we were
effectively communicate that.
Right. I remember when I was trying to get you to do shorter episodes, and you were like, no, man. Like, I don't want to put a time limit on things.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, no, I don't want to put a time limit on things. I just kind of want to let them go. And then I turned it around on you. Right. I was like, okay, Tyson, let's look. You're going to make a 2-hour episode. Right.
Yeah.
Like, what can people do with 2 hours?
Right.
You know, that's when I got you to be precise and be like, okay, why don't we think of time as being limitless?
Mm-hmm.
Yet you're going to take an hour out of somebody's time. Why don't you give them the most value with that hour? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what did that been on for you, right?
Yeah. It was a great, and it's the thing. I didn't feel like walled in by this constraint all of a sudden, like, oh, I can only do this in an hour. What in turn, what I took from it was, okay, if I need to distill this 2-hour meandering conversation down to an hour, I've got to become clear and concise and precise in my thinking, my speaking, and my thoughts, my preparation. Everything has to clean up. And if at the worst, an exercise, and that was, and it was profound. And
right.
and that's when, go back to rule 2, or was it 3? Have good people around me say, listen, clean up your speech. Like, no, I don't. Okay, let me at least attempt that. And it's helped me not just here, but all around other things I start to think about. How can I be precise? Why am I taking this amount of time? How can I be more efficient and effective in this manner?
That's the other thing too. If you're going to be precise, you got to be efficient.
Right.
You have so many words in the human language. Like, pick and choose your words wisely.
Right. We only have about 5,000, they say, on hand of us to choose from.
That's not much, you know. But I know some people that choose to use a 4-letter word that begins with F a lot.
Ain't that some motherfucking bullshit?
Right? It definitely shows the diversity of the word.
Oh, man. I love that video. Oh, man. It's a noun, a pronoun. I had to Google some of those words, but, oh, man.
You know, but on the other hand, right, the more words you have to your repertoire, right, the more precise you can be.
Yeah.
See? Use these tools. Like, that's going to help you be a better person too. So that helps me be a better person. It's like, how can I find the right word for this? How can I say exactly what I need to say in the best way?
Sometimes I have that little, what's that, old school Will Ferrell moment. I say a couple of words. I'm like, whoa. Whoa, what did I just say? I don't even know what that even means.
What happened? What time is it?
Yeah. Like, I was on this word juxtapose. It was in this book like 87,000 times. And I just was like, these are juxtaposed. And I'm like, the fuck does that actually mean? I had to Google it like 3 times to really get it in my head.
Yeah. No, that's good. One of the stories I like in this chapter, even though I think it's more related to the previous chapters, but they all kind of mesh together.
Yeah.
There's a story of the dragon in the house, dude. I love that story.
That was a fun story.
Why don't you share that story, dude? I like that story.
Oh yeah, that's good. So it's something of I guess it's an old actual like fairy tale or something like that or whatever he says. But anyway, it's like little boy's got this little dragon kind of pops up on his bed or something along those lines. And he's like, Mom, there's a dragon. And Mom's like, no such thing as dragons. It's like, okay. You go around and he's like, and then the dragon starts to get a little bigger. And he's like, Mom, you see the dragon now? It's like, there's no such thing as dragons. And soon enough, the dragon is filled the entire house. The mom's trying to vacuum, and she's got to go in and out the windows and up and down. It takes her twice as long to vacuum, but she still won't acknowledge the dragon. And so the dragon gets bigger. and then the house floats away. And the dad comes home from work. He's like, where's my house? And the man's like, it went that way. So then the dad's got to go track down the house now. And then the dad gets home, and then the boy's like, Mom, this dragon. She's like, there's no dragon. And he's like, and then finally he's like, Mom, there's a dragon. And she's like, okay. And then the dragon shrinks. The mom's like, why did the dragon just shrink like that? He's like, I think he just wanted to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we avoiding? What are we sweeping under the rug? Don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Being the dragon.
Yeah. And again, like, I love these stories because, like, these stories are great, like, analogy, metaphors, like, for so many things.
And that's the thing I learned about this book that was pleasantly surprising. When I first started reading this religious stuff, I'm like, oh, please don't be about this. I had high hopes for this book. But then it's like,
right. He's using an example, right?
Yeah, it's like these stories, like, listen, these were stories to teach lessons a long time ago. Like, there's something in here. If you read about it, you think about it, there's something here. And it's like, the power of the story and the storytelling, it really came out more to me in this book than I ever really gave credit to for a good story.
Right. And I think he utilizes his own rule about be precise in your speech by using these stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's a creative way. I mean, yeah, sure, he's talking about something else.
Yeah.
But it's a creative way to, like, turn the light on, It's a creative way to say things that people are receptive to.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just being, oh, wait, I can't listen to this story. Like, You know what I'm saying?
Right. And
start talking about lobsters, people, like, start reading.
Yeah, it's like, oh, lobsters. Oh, that's interesting.
You start talking about people who have problems and don't want to admit it. Like, they don't want to read that story. Right.
And then you're not telling yourself the truth. You're like, this isn't about me. I know people like that, but it's not me.
Yeah. But anyway, but I'm just saying though, like, it's a good way to do it, And then he's got that whole, at the end, for me, it's just like, I just like the title of the last section here.
Oh,
half. Just that name. Like, I don't know if you're watching this and any of you have actually seen wheat, but you know, wheat from chaff, like there's this big ball. I mean, it's not this big, but it's maybe like this small on the tip of the wheat. And that's what's called the chaff. And inside the chaff, you got to break through that. It's like a husk. You got to break through, and then there's wheat on the inside. And then that little wheat on the inside is what you use to make bread. But, you know, that's just the whole thing. Is like, if you're precise, right, you need such precision to break that chaff, to separate chaff from wheat. Like, that precision is what allows us to have and harness the power of wheat. Like, just that analogy there, there's like a deeper meaning just to that name, just to the title of that. It's kind of crazy, you know, like being precise, like in anything you do, it's just a tool on how to help you get to the next level.
Yeah, if you go at that wheat like a Neanderthal, you don't have that wheat.
Yeah, you grab a rock, you crush it, you break it open, you get parts of the chaff in there, and then all of a sudden when you eat the bread, it's like, there's a little chaff in there.
Yeah, tearing up your guts and stuff.
Yeah, but it, you know, it's just, that's cool. But you know, he's got that saying in there, right? Like we got these quotes, right? Say what you mean, then pay attention. Note your errors, articulate them, strive to correct them. That is how you discover the meaning of life. Like,
exactly.
Dude, this guy, he's deep.
It is.
He's like deep with that, dude.
It is. But you got to go back to the other rules to get here.
Well, I'm just saying, even if you read this rule alone, like,
you just go after that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many points in this book when he does exactly that. Just like you read it and you're like, damn.
And that's the thing. When you listen to the audio version, you can just, I mean, there's parts in there you can hear him crying and getting animated in front. And he brings so much to this story. Like, he's so invested in these things, you can just feel it to like just to your core.
All right. So we good with that one?
Yeah.
All right.
On to 11. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding.
Security.
What mean you say?
Again, what's the metaphor? It's like, but then taking back, like, up until this point, the rules, if you just read them, like 1 through 10,
they all
like, they're good.
Yeah,
they make sense. He's got additional information so that you can get that rule into context. But this is just one of those rules, like, it's all in the context. This and the next rule as well. So that. So
this one's got a lot of those Disney movie stories that he just breaks down, Snow White and Ursula and all this stuff.
He's versing that.
I was like, what? Snow White, is that the apple or what is? I don't even know.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the way he kind of leads out with the chapter. Is like, why do children skateboard? You know? It's like they skateboard because it's dangerous. You know what I'm saying?
It's
like,
fun.
That's why they do it. You know, it's like, why aren't they wearing protection? Why aren't they protecting themselves? It's like, because that defeats the point.
That's not fun.
It's like, I wouldn't even say fun. Like, it's fun, but at the same time, we are all looking for something, right? Like, he talks about the whole thing about being in balance, right? Like, you got to put yourself in danger. You got to put yourself in a situation where you can be tested.
Yeah.
You got to test the limits. You got to know the limits of the world.
Yeah. So he's talking about that story in I forget, I don't know if it was in Canada or wherever he was. He's like, they took all the playgrounds, and next thing you know, the kids are on the roofs of the buildings.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't do this stuff, they're gonna figure out some way to do it, to get there. Yeah.
And that's part of life. I mean, especially for young little boys. Girls maybe not always so, but it's just, that's how it is. Like, you're trying to find ways, you're trying to find things that are going to push you out there, and that's part of life. It's part of growing up, especially for men. especially men who grew up in the time that we grew up. That's
Yeah.
what it's about, you know?
Those are things we did. I mean, that was normal life.
Yeah.
Running around outside and doing tricks and getting crazy on the bikes and running this, that, and another, and
skateboards, all that kind of stuff. That's basically what it's about, you know? You got to get out there and adventure your life, right? Like, going back to the whole thing about Rule 5, you know what I mean? Don't let your children do things that make you dislike them.
mm-hmm.
It's like, if you're going to get out there and shelter them from the world, like, they're not going to know the limitations of the world because you're right there behind them, stopping them from experiencing it.
Right. And that's the thing. When I was teaching Titus to, ride his bike, he didn't care to ride his bike until just, I don't know, maybe six months or so ago. And I mean, he's 7. I think maybe it was just.
Is that when you take the training wheels off?
No, even with the training wheels on, he never cared to ride a bike. He would get frustrated with the process of pedaling, and he just never. I just kind of let it be. Like, you're eventually, but he wanted to go for a bike ride, and we went for a bike ride, and I was like, hey, how about you think about if I, kind of push those training wheels up a bit? And he's like, I guess I can give it a try. All right. So I tried to push them up a little higher so you'd have to balance more, but they couldn't go any higher. So then I was like, listen, man, I'm just going to take these off and let's work on this.
Yeah.
And then, watching him fall and scrape his knees and stuff. And it's just like, I just want to, let me help you out a little bit, but I just have to stand there and just be like, it's all right, bud. You're going to fall. It's okay. Just get up, run, do it again. You're going to get the balance. You're going to get it. But sometimes it's hard, especially as a parent, to just sit there and just be like, it's all right, bud. You're going to get it. You're just going to keep falling. It's all right, and not intervene as much as you want to.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Children have to make their own mistakes. There are times when you don't want to let that happen. There's times when you shouldn't let that happen because they're endangering themselves.
Right.
And other people.
Mm-hmm.
But there's many times when they're going to make mistakes, and as a parent, you have to watch and see how they handle that situation.
Yeah.
That's
when you have the opportunity to little course correct, like, oh, yeah, I know that was a little tough, a little hard. How about maybe if you come across this again, try this little angle, try this little thing, and maybe try doing this.
Yeah, I mean, definitely give them pointers, like give them tips on how to do it for sure. Yeah. But the whole thing is part of the process, like learning the process. That's what they're doing when kids are out there skateboarding. They're learning processes.
You don't want to become lunch bucket.
Oh gosh, lunch bucket, dude. I don't know what it is about that story, dude. I
love that story. That brings back so many memories. Oh man.
Anyway, so I guess I'll share this one. This is one of my favorites. So lunch bucket, right? Like, there's this new guy on the job, right? And anybody who gets new to a job, there's a little bit of haze that goes on, right? So
especially as a male.
Especially if it's a male, yeah. So he was carrying this fancy lunch bucket, right? Everybody else had a brown paper bag, but he's got this fancy lunch bucket that he's bringing in. Looks like his mom packed his.
He probably did.
Yeah, so that's initially how he got his name, right? Like lunch bucket, like that's the first day. But eventually, as time went on, this guy, as his work ethic started showing throughout the day, like he bitched about everything. He had a bad attitude. He had poor work ethic. Anytime something came up, he's like, it was somebody else's fault. Oh, so-and-so did that. That wasn't my work. You know what I mean? He wasn't that person you wanted to be around.
Right.
And so eventually what happened, they were working in a hard hat area. And like when he was working in his area, like guys would like pick up little tiny pebbles and like throw them at his hat. And like, bink. Like you hear a little thing, he like look up and like everybody's working. And like when he went back to work, like everybody else just kind of like snicker on down the line, like, and it's like, it's just got that little haze over there, you know what I mean? And like, just things went on. He didn't just get hazed about his name. Like he just started getting picked on and threw pebbles at him, and the guy quit. Like, but I don't know, man. I kind of resonate with that story because like I don't know. I mean, again, take that back. I'm not trying to say you should bully people and all that kind of stuff, but you got to imagine, like, when I grew up, there was like a code, like there was like a man code amongst men that happened. And granted, I am kind of with the times. I don't know, Tyson, you probably not with the times. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Well, more or less. You know, and that's the thing, like, he talks about, especially in his chapters, like, that's part of the male, especially the male ritual for 10, 20, 30,000 years.
That's true.
Do we know what's going to happen if we bring that to a grinding halt?
All right, Mr. Slippery Slope. We're not there yet. Again, like I was saying in previous rules, I'm a firm believer. I do feel that we're tilting away from that, but I'm a firm believer that the market will correct itself.
Yeah.
And we're going to go back in the other direction. That's the cycle of life.
Right.
It all is going to come back. But I definitely think that he does a good job here of expressing male code and why it's important. You know what I mean? He's got that quote there. He's like, are you tough, entertaining, competent, and reliable? Yeah? If not, go away. Like, that's just it. And then everybody else there is there to work.
Yeah.
You know, and this lunch bucket guy is here. He's got his lunch made basically better than everybody else.
Yeah.
He's coming to work with a bad attitude. Everything else is everybody's problem. He's just complaining about life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody wants to be around that.
No. Slowing down production, slowing down the works,
you know,
bringing down the mood, bringing down the morale.
And this kind of just anticipates off of Rule 5 again. Like, if you don't correct things in your child, society will. Like, you know, they just threw pebbles at his head. I don't know what else they did, but like everybody knows about that guy. Like, everybody.
He only worked for 3 days, and he's immortalized in a storybook now.
Yeah, but that's just it, right? Like, and I remember a 7-year-old boy saying, hey, I wouldn't quit my job. I would just ignore them and keep my job, right?
Yeah, that's what my son said. I was like, blew my mind. I was like, exactly.
You know,
like, it was so, he just, like that, he picked up on it.
Yeah.
Like,
but see, that's the whole thing, though. It's like, I truly believe that, you know, number one, that was society's way of correcting the situation. You know, as cruel as that may be. But number two, those men wanted the best for Lunch Bucket.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just goes back to the whole thing about the Baywatch thing. You know, Dwayne Johnson's character, like, wanted the best for Zac Efron's character.
Yep.
You know, and that's just part of it. Like, you have this code of behavior, and you're not with that code of behavior. You're acting outside of that behavior. You need to correct that. You know?
Exactly.
But it's just kind of, you know, that's the kind of thing, like, if you're in the market to be married or have a girlfriend and that kind of stuff, like, women want supporters. They want people who are going to be there, right?
Right.
Talk about it, right? Are you entertaining? Are you tough? Are you competent? Are you reliable? Like, these are all things that women look for in a mate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When you're the top lobster, these are the characteristics you have. When your serotonin levels are high, characters you have.
And it's like, that's just all part of life. And like, you know, I'm more forward with the new thing, but this brings the basis, right, of what society has been for the past, however, ever since.
Right.
Like, that's how it was, you know? Yeah. And that's just kind of,
I mean, sure, you know, is there a new school element maybe of race and these types of things that we can eliminate? Sure. But the fundamentals of these things, I want to be cautiously optimistic that I think we got to be careful with eliminating some of these.
We should preserve some of them. We shouldn't eliminate them altogether.
Especially these male ritualistic behaviors.
Right. You know, but then that just comes back down to, like you were saying, like, you can't handle the truth. Like, you know, that movie, Few Good Men, right?
Right.
Like, these are all prime examples. Like, that was a great example. Like, you're damn right I ordered the code red.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, his interest was in the best. Like he wanted to put that soldier in line.
It was absolutely necessary for the greater good of not just that company platoon, the soldiers, but possibly, you know, the mission that they're on or something like that. That affects.
For those of you guys know what we're talking about that movie, A Few Good Men.
Right.
But anyway, you know, and it's like he's the bad guy in that movie, yet, you know, he's trying to do something for that soldier, for the whole platoon, for the whole Marines.
Right.
Like he's trying to keep the code there, that code of behavior that's being held by that lunch bucket, or, you know, even Full Metal Jacket, right? Like Private Pile, same thing. You know, it's like you have that one person that's just, you know, he's just foobar and
just fucking up. Like, is this a donut, Private Pile? Is this a donut? Like,
you know, but you know, if that's not corrected, you know, catastrophic things can happen.
Yeah.
You know, for that individual, and sometimes, unfortunately, for other people as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You've got to you've got to hold the line. You got to hold these standards, because especially, you know, a lot of times, you know, these standards and these things, they slowly start to degrade a little. Like, oh, we'll let this slide a little. Oh, okay, then we let this slide a little, and then we let this slide. And next thing you know, your standards are so low. You know, it's just horrible.
I think a lot of that comes out with the school system too. You know.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he alludes to too, is like more women go to college than men, right?
Right.
And that's just because men just don't do well in that environment, right?
Right.
In schools, they want to take skateboards away, right? Schools, they want to limit your behavior, right? They want to limit what you can do, what you can say, and just naturally, right, through men's code of behavior, we don't want to be a part of that. I don't know. Right.
And he alludes to some other things. I'll let you guys kind of read it about, you know, oppressing males and stuff like that, and we've got to, you know, kind of be careful about that. He does a real good job of articulating that, way better than I understand. But I would encourage you folks to read about that.
Just got a lot, but you know, ultimately, you know, the whole thing about children skateboarding is they are trying their best to stretch their understanding of the world, right? They're trying to put one foot in the chaos. They're trying to comprehend something that they can't understand.
Yes.
Right? Something that they are, and there's a, you know, it goes into that story about the code of other men trying to hold you to that, you know what I mean? Whatever that is. But I kind of want to end this section with one of his quotes too, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you think tough men are dangerous, wait until you see what weak men are capable of. Leave children alone when they're skateboarding, you know? Like, that's real.
It is. And that's a scary thought to think about, man.
Right? Like, what are weak men capable of? Like, again, not trying to take people to that dark place, but we've had a lot of recent unfortunate events that happened because weak men took things to another level.
Yeah.
You know?
And he's got, I forget which chapter it is, but he talks a lot about that and kind of the reasons why those types of, you know, tragic shootings are happening, you know, and this is a little bit a part of that.
Yeah. One that's a good argument, you know.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good argument. You know, I'm not saying that all of us need to be tough men out there and go bully people around, but
yeah, I know. I'm not talking about necessarily bullying people, but
you know, there's a fine line between bullying somebody and being like, hey, you know what I mean? Like,
and that was the thing I really kind of resonated with too here at the end. He's talking about, you know, if they're healthy, women don't want boys, they want men. They want someone to contend with, someone to grapple with. If they're tough, they want someone tougher. If they're smart, they want someone smarter. They desire someone who brings to the table something they can't provide. This often makes it hard for tough, smart, attractive women to find mates.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's a good rule.
All in all, you know, not trying to think about what the consequences are of not following the rule.
Right.
But just in general, you know, outside looking in, you see something that may appear to be not right or in your mind, like just take a step back for a half a second and be like, what's going on here?
Right.
You know what I mean? Are we put, you know, as he put it, are we going to put skate stoppers on these planners? Or are we just going to let them skateboard and kind of discover things that's going on. Like, it's been crazy.
Yeah. It's a good rule. When you get down into it, it's a weird, ambiguous title, but it's a really good rule. And there's some things in there I think we've got to allow society to correct, like that's going to happen, but we've also got to
just be aware.
Yeah, be aware of that. Yeah,
you know, there are consequences for taking things into, you know, the lighter side and letting you know, being helicopter parents, doing all these things. Like there may be consequences for that. And again, I'm a firm believer that things are going to turn around. Yes. Anyway, ending on that note.
Rule 12. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street.
Yeah, dude. This rule kind of like, whew.
Wow.
This is a good chapter. I'm gonna say it's, to me, I like your partake on it. We were talking about it earlier. Like, you see the life, you see the resilience through all of this, and like, I'm glad that you see it that way, dude. Like, that's, you know what I mean? I went through my whole 3 weeks of darkness phase, but I'm glad you see it that way, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I if you guys don't know what we're talking about, I mean, a lot of this chapter is if not most of his chapter is about his daughter. She had, I think it was like rheumatoid arthritis as a child.
Oh yeah.
And she wound up having her hip replaced and her ankle replaced, and it just goes on. This, I mean, wow.
It talks about the struggle. Yeah.
Man, I mean, the things that they talk about. I mean, as a 6-year-old, like, she couldn't run. She had to. I mean, she had to take as much OxyContin as she could possibly get her hands on, just to sort of be like not that much in pain.
Yeah, and then she had to overcome that oxy addiction. It's like,
right. And she said and he said that her take was the pain of her, I don't know if it was her hip or her ankle, was worse than the withdrawals from the oxy.
It's like
the heroin withdrawals weren't as bad as the hip pain. Damn. What a soldier.
Yeah, she's a trooper.
Man.
But you know what I mean? That's the whole thing about this, is just life and resilience, you know? I definitely see that. I mean, I kind of like the joke that he made, like the rule is actually like, there's not very many cats in this rule, like at all. It's like, he talks more about dogs than he does cats.
He does talk about dogs and his kids, yeah.
Just for those of you cat lovers out there, don't get disappointed when you get there.
Eventually he gets to the cats.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's just it, you know. His daughter's struggle and what his family went through, you know, his family in general and his daughter, they're all strong-willed individuals, you know.
Yeah.
I'm glad you saw the light in that. And again, maybe I just represent the darkness in this conversation. It just, you know, I take heart with someone who, you know, has a child with some incurable disease that's cruel. You know, I mean, that hits me personally. You know, I have a good friend that's in that situation, and it's rough.
Yeah.
You know, it's rough to see somebody go through that. I myself would just never fathom. I'm so grateful every day for what I have and that my child's healthy.
Yes.
You know, and even Jordan Peterson in the book, like, he puts those statements out there, you know, like, why would God do such a thing? Like, what, you know, what's that purpose? What's that about?
Yeah.
You know, and like, that's a hard question to answer. You know, it's like, you don't necessarily take light in that situation. Anyone who looks in those types of situations, like, it's hard to see the light, you know.
Yes.
It's very hard to see the light when that's what your world is, completely surrounded in chaos every day. Like, you got to come home and see your daughter go through all these things, like,
and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
And you do your best, you know what I mean? And, you know, I guess I myself, I like trying to lighten the subject. I wasn't that bad, but this book did kind of take me to a negative place for a few weeks. I was just in a place where, you know, 80 to 90% of my thoughts throughout the day were just negative. I would just see something and be like, nah, that ain't possible. Nah, that's not that. I don't know if some of you were around me during that time, but you could just feel the energy coming off. It was a different type of energy.
Yeah.
I see to that.
Oh yeah.
You know? And it was just negative after I read this book. You know, that's why I'm so glad when I heard Tyson. He's like, oh, dude, the struggle she went through, she's resilient. She's about life. And I'm like, you know, I never really thought about it, dude. Thanks for bringing light like into my darkness, man.
You're welcome. I mean, that's,
you know,
it's interesting how we both can read the exact same thing and have two completely opposite.
Well, that's just because we have different things, right? Like
Yeah.
we got different things. I personally have a friend that's going through this, so
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, not
I'm so blessed that I don't have to. I can't even watch stuff on TV. It's just so. I mean,
yeah,
God,
when you hear
man,
about
it's just
that,
a little kid. Like, come on, man. Like,
and even me, I'm in healthcare too. Like I just sometimes I think twice about going to work at a women and children's hospital because
right.
You know, you see this kind of stuff every day. But you know, for me, but after about maybe 3-4 weeks or so, I somehow broke my negative train of thought. And then from there, like I just kind of, you know, I think Tyson helped me out actually. He's like, hey, let me shed some light on this subject. Like, hey, thanks. You know what I mean? That goes back to number 3, right? Put yourself around people who want the best for you, you know? And after coming out of that, I just had this positive energy streak, you know? It was like the light at the end of the tunnel. But not only was it the light at the end of the tunnel, like that light that I saw was like brighter than anything that I've ever seen. And like, I don't know, man, like Tyson can tell you, like, you just, now I'm around, you feel this energy just like flying off of me. Like, it's like I'm a completely different person, you know?
Yep. We jumped on show prep yesterday. And I was like, whoa, hey, Ransom, you're back.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like, I shot out of there. And it's just, you know, that's the kind of thing that sometimes when you're in the darkness, like that's all you see. But you got to remember that there's beauty in life. It's around you.
So much.
You know, if all you sit there and focus on is why is this happening to me? Like, go through all of these rules. You know what I mean? Know where you are. Treat yourself like someone that's worth something. Like all of these rules can just kind of combine. That's what I like about like these last 2 rules. Is you take a lot of these rules and absorb them in. You know, it's just there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's definitely good stuff. I don't know, man. Thanks, dude. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. I'm glad this helped you, and it would really touch my heart if it could help another person as well.
For sure.
And that's part of doing this show is that kind of thing and this kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, just it sounds cliche, but I mean, step outside for a minute, man. Look up at the sky, the clouds, the trees, the bushes. Even if they suck, they're there and they're alive. You're alive. I mean, you're watching, you listen to this, like you're doing not too half bad.
Right. You have access to the internet. You live in America. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
And I kind of think, you know, we're summing up here. I just go ahead and read his quote real quick. It's kind of at the end of the chapter how he sums it all up, and I love it. It's like, his quote is, and maybe when you're going for a walk and your head is spinning, a cat will show up. And if you pay attention to it, then it will remind you, just for 15 seconds, that the wonder of being might make up for the incurable suffering that accompanies it. Like, dude, that's that's deep. That's some deep stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know? And it just makes a difference. Like just that 15 seconds of light, like you give somebody hope to continue on, and that's so true, man. In many things in life.
Sometimes that's all someone needs is that glimmer of hope.
Yeah. No, not agreement, man. All right, man. We made it, dude.
We did. What an amazing book.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Sorry
guys.
Again to all of you that this is a long episode. Again,
Yes.
We're going to break it up. We're going to break it down so that you can get, if you're that type of person that needs to take it all in at one time, do so. But if you want to take it step by step, we're going to break it up and put it out there for you.
We'll have the large episode and each individual rule broken up for you, so you can either go back and forth or just hop through the rules as you need.
Yeah, good.
And with taking in with this book, one of the great mysteries and the great things and the great gifts of life is giving. Mm-hmm. And I got something for you guys. If you want to enter and get into this on this giveaway, solidify this month's giveaway. We're going to be doing not only this book is part of the giveaway. We're also going to be adding in Gary V's smash hit bestseller, Crushing It, as a set, so you can win both books, not just one or the other. You're going to get both of those, the 12 Rules of Life and Gary V's Crushing It. Head over to the socialchameleon.show/pickme and enter for your chance to win 2 of these amazing, amazing books. I can't pick you, bud, but you get the point.
Yeah. All right, cool.
And the challenge, what's this week's challenge?
Challenge, okay? Again, talking about light in the darkness. For me, I challenge you to just do one of these rules. Okay? If you're a superstar, get out there and try 3, and take them seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And get in there, read the book. I think the more challenging rules are, tell the truth, don't lie.
Yep.
Right? Be precise in your speech.
Yep.
Right? Fix your house before you criticize other people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you take these rules to the fullest and just apply even one of them to your life.
Mm-hmm.
Your life is going to be so much better. And if you can do 3 of them, okay, start now, right? Start now. When would now be a good time to start this stuff?
Right now.
Yeah, good.
And I'd like to add on to that a question I hear a lot.
Okay.
It's how. What do you mean how? Get a coach. Get a mentor. Find a program. Shadow somebody at work.
Yeah.
Get into books. Get into YouTube. Get into classes. Get into seminars. Get an accountability partner. Call me. Email me. I'll help you out.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Final thoughts?
Take it away, Mr. Ryman.
All right. I guess for me, final thoughts, the kind of overall summary of this book is basically, I guess, order and chaos. We as humans, we are not perfect, right? We can't be all ever knowing, pure energy, pure goodness. And we can't be the exact opposite, pure destruction, right? The devil, whatever you want to call it. As humans, we lie somewhere in between the middle, right? Like this book kind of focuses on, right? You have one foot firmly planted in chaos, 1 foot firmly planted in order, and right there, between that, is where you find meaning. Yeah. Use these forces, good and bad, chaos and order. Let them push and pull you. And from there, learn to find the balance within. Then you'll find your meaning. Nice.
Perfect. And on your journey to finding meaning, get with us and see what we're up to.
Yeah.
YouTube, Instagram, everything, Social Chameleon Show. If you're listening to the podcast version, maybe you can add a little meaning to the podcast comments. Leave us a comment. It helps, other people find this show. Share it with your friends and family. Those, either your favorite rule or the whole episode. Some of this can help. And as always, this episode, all the links in the show notes and everything we can talk about and previous episodes can be found at socialchameleon.show. And until next time, keep learning, growing, and transforming into the person you want to become.